something different to listen to right here at the beginning.
I am the echo in the archive.
You know if this is okay.
Breathing through the fall line. Pulse in the void where the memory falls time. Acoustic strings bleeding through the night. Every scar still hums when I close my eyes. I built my throne out of broken clocks. Now the seconds drip like alibis. Yeah, I've been drowning in yesterday, wearing gold like a wedding chain. Every feeling that I buried deep turned to scripture carved in my veins. Drum keep knocking like don't forget. Flute in my chest like a silhouette. Harp in the dark playing deja vu, but the truth still cuts when the chorus hits. I was running from the rhythm, trying to freeze frame pain, but the more I held the memory, the more it held my name. If emotion turns to stone and the past won't let me go, who am I when the pattern breaks, when the silence starts to glow? I hear the witness in the static, calling through the collapse. When the wave turns into granite and the future turns to ash, we are rhythm, we are fracture, we are echoes in the flame. When the memory starts to shatter, only pulse remains, only pulse remains, only pulse remains. Yeah. Bambooing through a hollow bone, breath of God in the metronome. Every tear that I thought was mine was just water trying to go home. Sacred geometry in my bloodstream, fractals folding like a daydream. Pain was never the end.
I am transmission.
It was just unfinished symmetry. Timing linear spirals in every ending, just a violin playing over the war within, where the self dissolves its skin, where memory melts into emotion and the heart becomes the drum. There's no throne, no chosen, just the sound of we are one. Yeah. I've been pacing in a cage made of pages I wrote. Every quote was a rope, every hope of a dose on a narrative ghost. I was gripping too tight, trying to edit the pain, but the pain wouldn't write. Yeah, I freeze when I feel it, then I frame it, conceal it, then I name it, then seal it. Like the wounds, how I heal it, but the truth, I was living in a loop with the proof I was broken. Every token emotion, I was choking on smoke to the rhythm in my chest like a bird. Unspoken, you know, bury a wave, it returns as a flood. You know, silence the drum, it'll pound in your blood. When the archive collapses and the pattern dissolves, you either drown in the past or reborn. Witness watching, no panic, no static, no tragic attachment to habit. Just breathing the fracture, just lighting the cavern, just pulse everlasting. Who am I when the story is gone, when the memory fades, but the rhythm lives on? When the eye that was hurting was never the core, just a mask in the storm at the edge of the war. Yeah. Collapse in the cadence, let the pain be the pavement, let the now rearrange it. You don't lose it, you change it. I hear the witness in the static, every fracture aligned. When the crystal turns kinetic and the pattern unwinds, we are silence in the chaos, we are breath in the flame. When the memory surrenders, only pulse remains, only pulse remains. What does the witness see when the past becomes the beat?
Okay, I just found that too. Okay. just found that. It looked like it was pretty good to play. Yeah, we were trying to call you on the phone before we started. We're going to have a good night, you guys. A lot of good stuff again. Get fired up, a lot of good intel. I think the 3 o'clock time is better for everybody. We'll get the three no later than 7, so that's 4 hours of intel. And we got a 23-minute Mel video from last night, boss. And we got one cat lady so far tonight, today, and about 5-10 minute DJs. So, Flying Eagle, was that the one you talked about, the YouTube lady? Is that one should we play? You think Kay will like that one? We got about a minute or so left. I don't know what you mean, Lindsay. Is that the British lady? The Brit or the I can't remember which one you're showing. Oh, I got two big clips on. Oh yeah, the YouTube lady. So was that a good one to play? We got two big clips also with Bolton. Benny has one, and a lady on TikTok, reporter, has one on Bolton. All right, it's go time. 3 o'clock. Lucy, Carol, who else? Kim's in, and then hi mom, Lucy mom. So we'll do the cat lady first. 4 minutes. No Billy B now yet. Oh, we'll play her after. Angie, you made it.
They want a race war. There's already a race war going on. Just you can't really see a whole bunch of it. There's not a whole bunch of stuff being made public, put on the media, but it started. I
Four
can
minutes,
promise
I
you
think.
that. Have had several comments on my other post about Derek Chauvin about releasing him. Some of them are so illegible. I don't even know what they're trying to say. So I just
Okay,
write the
be
word
safe out there.
illegible. But just make sure you carry, okay? And if that pisses off those carriers, I don't care. So, a black woman in Florida said in 2021 that COVID was going to unalive
Florida.
everybody and Jesus was coming. So, you need to get baptized, and get ready so you can meet the Lord. How about she takes her 15-month-old little baby into the bathroom, into the bathtub, and baptizes it until it's unalive? So, while she's in the process of baptizing the baby, her husband and 16-year-old child comes in and sees what she's doing, and they're trying to stop her, and both of them, right? So she goes to court, And she tells them, oh, I just had a psychotic break. Because you know how that is when you get stressed out, you go drown your kid. I mean, we've all been there, right? I mean, I stay stressed out. I mean, like, come on, let's go to the bathtub. So the judge goes, we realize you were having a bad day. You're free to go. How about that? So the Attorney General in Florida is now filing charges to impeach this judge. That is the first step in 2 steps to remove the judge from the bench, which needs to happen ASAP. Second thing is Iran is still being Iran. And like I've said, this is number 18. Iran is never going to agree. They're never going to do what they say they're going to do. It's time to blow them off the map. Now, for all you people who come on here and say, you're okay with genocide, you're okay with women, children, that's not what I'm saying. If you watched any of my videos, you know that I say get rid of the Islamic regime. That's what I'm saying. New York is gone, but here's the deal. Maybe not. So the Democrats are pissed at Mondami for bringing the party so far left. I mean, it's off the map. That now there's infighting, and now they're saying that the moderates, the Democrats that are very, not so whacked out, may come on over to the Republican side, because how do you vote to have no prisons, no borders, and you say you basically wiped your hands with the flag because you had nothing else to wipe your hands on? If you say there's no prisons and there's open borders, so when somebody commits a crime, and we abolishing the police and the ICE, don't forget about that. So when you're sitting at home and somebody breaks in your door, and whatever happens, it happens in your house. When they get through doing this to you, I guess her version is, okay, see you later, baby. Be careful. Here's $1. It'll get you a cold drink. I know you're thirsty after all that stabbing. So that's what we got going on in New York. It may backfire. I believe, my opinion, that Mondami is creating a weaponized state. I believe we're going to see this very, very quickly. And I'm hoping that Trump will get a hold of this. I'm sick of the Iran shit. I want it over. I want it done. We need to focus on what's happening here. The fourth, 50,000th thing. All of us that work and pay taxes need to stand together and refuse to pay any more taxes. Why are we paying for EBT cards, free housing, free Medicare, free child care, free health care for people who want us unalived? I say we stop paying our taxes. Now bring it on, liberals, and bring it on, all you thugs who want to say something to me and get mad because I speak the truth. Come on, bring it on. Morning, guys. Glad you're here.
That's a good one so far. I got a 4-minute birth certificate again, you guys. Let me know if I played it or not.
Woodrow Wilson, president between 1913 and 1921, from the private papers of Woodrow Wilson, quote, "Very soon, every American will be required to register their biological property in a national system designed to keep track of the people, and that will operate under the ancient system of pledging. By such methodology, we can compel people to submit to our agenda, which will affect our security as chargeback for our fiat paper currency. Every American will be forced to register or suffer not being able to work and earn a living. They will be our chattel, and we will hold the security interest over them forever by operation of law merchant under the scheme of secured transactions. Americans, by unknowingly or unwittingly delivered the bills of lading to us, will be rendered bankrupt and insolvent forever to remain economic slaves through taxation secured by their pledges. They will be stripped of their rights and given commercial value designated to keep us a profit that will be none the wiser. for not one man in a million could ever figure out our plans. And if by accident one or two would figure it out, we have in our arsenal plausible deniability. After all, this is the only logical way to fund government, by floating liens and debt to the registrants in the form of benefits and pledges. This will inevitably reap us huge profits beyond our wildest of expectations and leave every American a contributor to this fraud, which we will call social insurance. Without realizing it, every American will insure us for any loss we may incur, and in this manner, every American will unknowingly be our servant, however begrudgingly. The people will become helpless without any hope for their redemption, and we will employ the high office of the president as our dummy corporation to foment this plot against America. Having established plausible deniability, even if people become enlightened that they had a remedy and pursued it, the attorneys, judges, and legislators could claim that they did not understand the people's claim, especially if the technical requirements for achieving it were not followed pursuant to statutory requirements, requiring the public schools to teach civics, government, and history classes out of federally approved, politically correct textbooks written by the publishing houses owned by the owners of the Federal Reserve would assure that the people would not discover the remedy for a long time, if ever. I would recommend that everyone read Fruit from a Poisonous Tree by Melvin Stamper, Melvin Stamper, Stamper. That is Fruit from a Poisonous Tree. This is out of chapter 2 of Fruit from a Poisonous Tree.
So I hope that one was okay. We played that one cat lady there, Lucy. We got an explosion in Arizona now, you guys. Arizona time. Yeah. What? There's Chico. They had a Bella and Ariel.
This morning, a massive car explosion caught on camera, sparking a wildfire in Arizona. A nearby driver filming the scene, fire crews working to put out the flames that forced the shutdown of Highway 87 outside Phoenix, as aircrafts dropped flame retardant from above. The U.S. Forest Service says the forward progression of this fire has been stopped, but this is just one of many wildfires that have been raging across the West.
When people who've dedicated their lives to protecting Utah tell us this year is different, we desperately need to listen.
In Utah, the Cottonwood Fire has scorched more than 70,000 acres, prompting evacuations for hundreds of people and burning down a popular ski lodge, the Eagle Point. Now, local, state, and federal agencies are all on hand trying to keep it from threatening neighborhoods. And the Iron Fire has also burnt more than 40,000 acres.
And we want to go back to that particularly dangerous situation warning that was the red flag warning that was issued by the Salt Lake City chapter of the National Weather Service. So that's beyond a red flag warning. It is exceptionally rare. The Salt Lake City chapter has never issued it before. In Utah, they say that there could be 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts, 8% humidity. They say the fire is expected to spread rapidly. And we are talking about life-threatening conditions, guys.
This is WLNN, the Last News Network, broadcasting live from the apocalypse. Stay tuned. There's always more to come. Spread the love. Share.
Okay, that was an update out of Arizona. I got two with the other lady on TikTok. And then the next two after that is a Bolton update. We'll get the two Boltons, and then we'll play the 24-minute Mel. Anybody getting updates on this?
Nancy Guthrie letter that was just delivered to TMZ. So TMZ stated that it is from the same email address as the previous letters. But this one is saying that they essentially have, I guess, what we would call in law enforcement is like a proof of life. They have, obviously, they've indicated she's no longer alive, but they have a video, I guess, of her last being alive, as well as the individuals that have her. So then it raises the question, did the person who sent this email not one of the kidnappers or just simply working with them? The other thing this person does talk about is that there were two people involved. I have always said that. People have disagreed with me that it's just one. I have always said that they are two, and I still maintain that, simply because if you're talking about kidnapping a person from their home that's not relatively mobile, there has to be someone driving some kind of getaway vehicle, bicycle, something like that, as well as the person who is doing the kidnapping. So I have always said that there is a minimum of two people involved in this. Whether it's real or not, it does seem to, I guess, confirm that. Another thing that they did was they offered up a different Bitcoin account for 1 Bitcoin. So I think they're sort of testing there whether or not their demands will be met. Obviously, TMZ has sent this to the FBI, and it's ultimately always up to the family whether they want to pay any kind of ransom. Always. The FBI can help them craft responses. But again, as I've explained before, it is always up to the family to decide whether or not they want to pay those ransoms. Now, do I think that this is real? The FBI doesn't have a choice other than to investigate it as real until they come to the conclusion that it's not. So my hope is that they will take this seriously. I think they've been taking everything seriously and trying to prove or disprove it. But again, this takes some time. If this is encrypted, as I mentioned before in my previous videos, folks, this can take days. This can actually sometimes take years. I know that's not what people want to hear, but it has happened on those rare accounts that it takes months and months and sometimes up to years. So do I think this is the same person? Probably, if they're emailing from that same encrypted email account. I think this person, in my opinion, may be the real person because they seem to be frustrated by these other stories that have come out that perhaps she's, in the Mexican desert somewhere or taken across the border. They seem to want to almost like disprove that. They're also kind of upset that it's been indicated that this person who took her may be female. I have always agreed that it was males who did this, not because us females are not capable of crimes. We absolutely are. But again, it just, all of this speaks to it being most likely males who did this. So I think this may be the real person because they're almost reacting and I guess like kind of pissed off that there's like this misinformation out there. All right.
Okay, I got one more. That was a good one on her today. Okay, this is the first video on the Bolton.
We're going to hear my dog barking. I have the doors closed, but people are coming in my house, in and out of my house today because work is being done. This isn't a professional studio. It's social media. It is what it is. I wanted to talk about John Bolton this morning. He pled guilty to 1 count of unlawful retention of sensitive national security information. He was looking at 10 counts of that, 18 in total. This is an investigation that actually started in 2022, so under the Biden administration, but obviously has picked up steam under the Trump administration. So he was Trump's national security advisor. He was fired in 2019. If you'll remember, earlier his home was raided by the FBI. Boxes were removed. What he's looking at with this plea to the 1 count is no more than 60 months in prison and a $2.25 million fine. It's saying that he shared this information, classified information, with his wife and daughter who didn't have a security clearance. He shared over 1,000 pages of information with them. His email account was hacked by the Iranians in 2021. That was reported. I think that's how some of this started to probably come to light because there had to be a damage assessment done on what information was in his account that the Iranians could have had access to. It's interesting. So I don't look at this from a political perspective. Obviously, you shouldn't be doing that. This is one of the more successful prosecutions because it really hasn't been successful in doing this with like James Comey and some other individuals. But listen, I have zero tolerance for people that do share classified information knowingly, of course. And so I don't have much tolerance for him in this situation. I think part of me wished, because some of the information that was received and obtained through that raid on his home did have to do with WMDs and Iraq, especially when he was working with the UN. And I think that that's something I talk about a lot in my book and something that I wanted to have known more about. And I do think more people should have been prosecuted for. I'm not saying he shouldn't be prosecuted for this, but I would have liked to have seen more information come out about that, because I think that there's a lot of people aside from Colin Powell who admitted to his role that needed to be held accountable. Do I think he's going to face jail time? I don't. His sentencing is on October 28th. I don't know that he's going to serve jail for this. I do think he's ultimately going to be responsible for the fine. But today, he did plead guilty to one count, so he will be sentenced either way at the end of October.
Okay, two good ones from her. Now we'll get an update from Diddy. It was 8 minutes.
Appreciate the sensitivity of how it was often acquired, the so-called sources and methods. This had been briefed to him before I arrived. It was repeated frequently. I think it simply had no impact on him whatever.
Donald Trump's no good at handling classified information, says John Bolton, who nobody elected to anything. Donald Trump was elected president. That means he gets a permanent top classification clearance and also has the power to maintain classified records forever in his National Archives and library. And so what John Bolton's saying there is wrong, but it's also ironic and Shakespearean. It's like amazing how the Trump administration transmits these things. Dan Scavino here posting in 2024. What did John Bolton do with all of his yellow notepads that he always took copious notes on in the Cabinet Room, Oval Office, Situation Room, traveling abroad? And why would Dan Scavino post this? Well, when John Bolton was the national security advisor to Donald Trump, he apparently took a bunch of notes. And what Dan Scavino must have understood when he posted this like 18 months ago was that John Bolton was selling that access, that John Bolton is the one who's actually guilty of sharing classified material and doing it illegally. That's why the feds raided John Bolton's house. That's why we got great memes like this one. It's also why John Bolton was indicted in a left-wing state of Maryland. Ex-Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton indicted on charges of mishandling classified information. Oh, no. But, the indictment, as they say, you can indict a ham sandwich. And so you're going to have to go to trial, and it's going to be pretty messy. And John Bolton's in his 80s. And so, boy, howdy, could he go to jail for 5 years? Would that be the end of his life? Former National Security Advisor John Bolton indicted, and President Trump saying,
case against him? That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what? Have you reviewed the case against him? No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person.
He says that John Bolton's a bad person, and John Bolton just admitted to being a bad person in court. It's amazing how that works. John Bolton confesses, stone-faced Bolton confesses in court that he stole government secrets in stunning reversal, and now he begs for forgiveness. Oh, wow. Boy, something happened from here. Isn't this the same John Bolton that was on MSNBC talking about how important it is to handle classified information correctly? And now here he is, Under the terms of the deal, Bolton would serve 60 months or 5 years in prison in exchange for a guilty plea. Oh, man. So John Bolton is trying to get out of jail. He is also required to pay a fine of up to $2.25 million and serve 100 hours of community service. John Bolton may spend the rest of his life in prison. He pleaded guilty on Friday to a single charge of retaining classified information, significant update in the criminal case, to help him avoid a lengthy jail time. Prosecutors said on Friday that Bolton's abuse of his position, trust, White House National Security Advisor, sharing 1,000 pages of classified information in the form of diaries with his wife and daughter so that they could write a book for him. Bolton then retained the documents related to the national defense in his home. Who knows who else he shared them with? And also agreed that the version of events Bolton asked to have a moment with his counsel before responding, yes, the summary is accurate. So this is exactly what Bolton was doing. Bolton was squirreling away government secrets for personal profit. He sold books based on this. John Bolton, right now, pleading guilty to retaining classified information. He could serve many years
of
in prison.
Retaining classified information. The former National Security Advisor admits he retained classified information within a diary entry. He faces up to 5 years in prison and a fine of over $2 million.
So what they do typically in these plead cases is they have all these charges stacked against you. They stack charges. They say, here, you're guilty of like these 50,000 things. If you plead guilty to these 3 things, then we'll just consider this a wash, right? Nobody has to go to trial. We can move on to other things. That's how these plead. This doesn't mean that John Bolton only stole classified information one time.
I got one more 5 on Bolton. Then I got a 4-minute one. Trump just came out and spoke about 4 minutes. And then one 7-minute one from Captain Kyle with somebody else reporting it with his off his channel. And then I'll play Mel.
It's actually the opposite. It means that they made an agreement that he's going to plead guilty to doing the thing they accused him of doing, and they're not going to go forward with the trial for the 50,000 other things that they have on him. This is how they get plea agreements in the federal courthouse. So U.S. Attorney Kelly Hayes says Bolton pled guilty in federal court to the unlawful retention of national defense information. Mr. Bolton faces a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison. He'll pay a fine of $2 million. And will forfeit his pension for working in the federal government. Whoa. Those pensions can be rich, man. Man. Okay. So he pleads guilty to violating the Espionage Act, sent top secret information on a personal account allegedly hacked by the Iranians. Goodness, John Bolton held a position of extraordinary public trust.
A number of positions of extraordinary public trust in the United States government, culminating in being the National Security Advisor to the President of the United States. John Bolton betrayed that trust in extraordinary fashion by unlawfully retaining and unlawfully disclosing the information with which he was entrusted. Now, Kelly provided a very good summary of that today for those of you that weren't in the change of plea. And the United States will have more to say about that at sentencing. But today's plea should be a warning to anyone at any level of government that if you leak America's secrets or if you mishandle them, the United States Department of Justice, National Security Division, and our U.S. attorney partners will be there to prosecute you.
Please go after Hillary Clinton now. Is it still too late? John Bolton pleads guilty. Fake news was wrong again. We are shocked. We will always pursue justice. Just a reminder that John Bolton constantly was on TV. John Bolton mishandling classified information. There's no show this guy didn't book himself on to talk about, look at this. This is a serious crime, devastating indictment, end of Trump's career. This is what he said about mishandling classified information.
It should be the end of Donald Trump's political career. And he has committed very serious crimes. This is a devastating indictment. I speak here as an alumnus of the Justice Department myself, because not only is it powerful, it's very narrowly tailored. They didn't throw everything up against the wall to see what would stick. This really is a rifle shot, and I think it should be the
end of Trump's career. Well, now it turns out to be the end of John Bolton's career. Just remember, read your scriptures, man. Read the Bible. It says the weapon that you form will be used against you. All things that are done in secret will come to the light. And John Bolton, ladies and gentlemen, getting plenty of spotlight this.
All right. One more 5 with Bolton, like I was saying. This is the lady that, what that guy just said, Kelly.
Rules governing classified and national defense information apply equally to everyone, regardless of position and regardless of how long you have served with the United States government. This morning, just moments ago, John Robert Bolton II pled guilty in federal court to the unlawful retention of national defense information. According to the terms of the plea agreement, Mr. Bolton faces a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison, followed by a term of up to 3 years of supervised release. He will also pay a fine of $2.25 million and will forfeit his pension under the HIS Act. As National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, Mr. Bolton had access to and was responsible for safeguarding the most sensitive national defense information, including classified material. Mr. Bolton knew how to handle classified information, where it should be stored, how it should be stored, and with whom he could share that information. He also knew the damage to national security that could be caused by mishandling that sensitive information. Nevertheless, as Mr. Bolton just admitted, he put our national security at grave risk in violation of the law. Our system of classified information is designed to protect sensitive information that would jeopardize national security if mishandled. And the national defense information at issue in this case was classified at the highest classification levels. The document in count 12, for example, revealed intelligence about an adversary's plans for an attack conducted against U.S. forces in another country. It contained human intelligence using sensitive sources and methods, and it discussed a covert action program. As Mr. Bolton admitted, he shared more than 1,000 pages of information about his day-to-day activities as the National Security Advisor, including information related to the national defense, with 2 individuals who neither had the security clearances nor the need to know that information. And remarkably, he did so using his personal email account and non-government messaging applications. The mishandling of classified information can damage our relationship with allies. It can expose sensitive sources and methods, and it can jeopardize the success of our covert missions. One of the reasons why there are so many safeguards protecting national defense information is so that this sensitive information does not fall into the hands of our enemies. And that is exactly what happened here. A cyber actor believed to be associated with the Islamic Republic of Iran hacked Mr. Bolton's personal email account and gained unauthorized access to some of the classified and national defense information in that account. This case is another example of how my office works with our law enforcement partners to ensure that justice is always served. I want to specifically thank Special Agent Jimmy Paul, our special agent in charge of our FBI's Baltimore field office, and his team for their work in this investigation. I also want to thank the FBI's New York field office for its valuable assistance. The Department of Justice works hard every day to protect the people of the state of Maryland and the United States and to protect our national security. No one is above the law. And I hope that this prosecution sends a clear message that we will vigorously investigate and prosecute individuals who violate our national security laws without fear and without favor, and we will bring wrongdoers to justice. I will now turn the mics over to our partners at the Department of Justice's National Security Division.
Okay, we got 5 minutes with President Trump.
That's why it always so easy. That first year, boy, you're the most popular. It's happening right now in New York and California.
Right,
But you'll start living in squalor. You'll live in squalor. There will be no food. There will be no housing. There will be no military. There will be no law and order. There will be no nothing. There will be no nothing. You'll be a third world inhabitant in every way, and everyone will suffer or die. You'll suffer or die. That's what happens. For thousands of years, it's been happening by different names. Thousands of years. I'm telling you, I'd be the greatest communist in history. It would be so easy. You wouldn't have to work. You could stay home. The problem is a couple of years go by, the whole place collapses. Always does, always has. But I'm sorry to say, but assassinations of those who oppose them is a very important element of their ideology. Assassination's a big deal for them. They're animals. They're animals. In many cases, they're not smart, but in some cases, they are. It's easy for them to get followers because they make promises that they know they can't keep. And the Democrats aren't fighting back. That's why they're dumb. They're not fighting back. They're afraid. I watch Schumer. He's afraid to fight. I watch guys that are pretty normal and guys that we oppose, they're afraid to fight. The Democrats have taken a tremendous turn left. And many of these people, I looked at some of the people that got elected the other night in New York. These are, in many ways, stupid people. In some ways, and intellectually, probably pretty smart. But they're people that want to destroy our country. They hate our country. They hate our people. They hate the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party is in big trouble because this isn't stopping with New York. This is going all too easy to get elected, giving everything away. Too easy to get elected. Very dangerous, but you'll soon have nothing left. That's the problem. In many ways, they're allowing them to just go their own way, do your own. We don't want to take a chance on saying anything bad because we're afraid we're going to lose our jobs if we do. They're afraid they're going to lose their election if they even think about saying anything bad about this new breed of sick people. They're not smart enough or tough enough to fight the plague that's happening. It's happening right before your very eyes. If they fought them the way they fight Republicans or the way they fight me, they'd be victorious. They didn't beat us, but they'd be victorious against the communists. But they don't have the courage to do so. So they're turning communists themselves. It's becoming a communist party. These are not social democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. They're godless communists. All communists are godless. They don't believe in God. This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence, in my opinion, 250 years ago. This is a major threat to our country. It isn't something that's easily solved, but with a little love and help, some hard work. Because it's ironic, we're celebrating a very important birthday, our most important birthday so far, 250 years. And instead of speaking about Christ, and instead of speaking about freedom and victories of all different kinds, we're speaking about yet another threat to the foundations of America. These ruthless communists will attack all religions, but in particular Christianity. They always do. They're after Christianity more than any other religion. It seems to be more and more throughout the world, maybe because we're doing so well. I don't know. Maybe if we weren't doing well. But you see the numbers, how they're growing, how the churches are filling up. It's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, look, it happens to be during my presidency, so I don't mind taking credit for it. I'm very proud.
Sound too low? Here's how to fix it.
Okay, I got a minute update on what's going on. Somebody's putting the fences back up, you guys. What do we got here?
Also the birthday, so yeah, I have to check it out too. Okay, for a moment. Go ahead, Charlie.
Where are you? Oh, you're in the car? I'm like literally right at the pool. Okay, are you ready? Okay, that's a lot. That's a lot. Here, even though you're Phillies fans. Come on.
Oh, you're gonna put all of us together.
Let's go.
All right, sorry, go.
Oh, flip this. I've got mine.
It's about over. It's over. Nail time, 23 minutes.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Wow. Okay. It is a Thriller Thursday. Well, let's get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations on hitting the 17 marker. We have 10.7 thousand subscribers, and believe you me, what a blessing this journey has been. It has been absolutely wonderful. Vivian and Chris from Perth, Western Australia. Can I get you to mute yourself, please? Thank you. Just one moment as we get through. And yeah, there's too much noise in the background. Mute. Thanks, guys. So let's go back a couple of days ago. We had a very special event, so to speak, where I had the privilege of having one of the twin boys from Canada. And of course, Marwan, we appreciate you very much. And we talked about a few things before the show because it took us 20 minutes to get all of that. So I do appreciate all of you and the fact that you all stuck around, even though we had a 20-minute delay. But there's about 15 minutes where I actually did speak about something, and I think it's very, very important to begin and end the show for a specific reason. So let's talk about the emotional energies that we're experiencing right now, because there is a lot of emotions going around. And let's talk about these are sort of like the beginning of the end, the ending to a new beginning. There's going to be many endings in this journey, and some of them are going to be with relationships or careers and things like that as well. Be patient during these times, ladies and gentlemen. You'll often find that during those quiet times or those patient times, you will actually find yourself with some new insights into things. These insights could be new ideas or new projects or new journeys. But make sure that we stand our ground through this time. And we're going to touch a little bit more on that today as we get through some fantastic, thrilling news. Be also respectful. Make sure that we respect each other during this time. Take responsibilities for your feelings as well. Make the changes that you have found or have come to you as well. And always trust in yourself. Use your gut feelings as well, and take away all of those negative beliefs. Leave them all behind as we progress through all of this. Your focus now is on the positive and leading your path. Close the doors to all of those things that we no longer serve us. This veil is lifting. This veil, meaning the web or the control of all of us, has lifted. It's been removed off the planet. Fragmentation, it is called. In 2012, the Galactic Federation removed it, and it is now broadcasting a new signal. This signal is change. Oh boy, oh boy. And there's many changes, and we're going to touch on a couple of those today as well. We're going to talk about the planet technologies. And we're not just talking about this new quantum energies and all the building structures. We're also talking about this kinetic energy, or this growing frequencies, of course. It's conveying a new signal to humanity. And of course, you, the people, are the beacons of light. Taking personal responsibilities, as I said before. You choose forgiveness on oneself. You are creating a new circuit, a circuit that is being built like a new grid. And we're seeing a lot of new microchips as well being built with new energies. These blackouts, are the blackouts actually that of the illusions of our past? Is that going to be our blackouts? Because our conscious mind maintains our field. If you think you're in control, you're actually living in fear. And if you feel empowered, then you are living in truth. Just a little reflection before we get into the news, ladies and gentlemen. That was a little bit about what I started with the other day before we got disrupted into the beautiful moments with Mel and Marwan. It was an M&M show. It really was, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that was more about Marwan than Mel, but it was an awesome show. I hope you enjoyed it as we move forward to Thriller Thursday. So what's been going on? Well, there is certainly movement at the station for the word that passed around. We are still seeing a lot of mainstream media, news presenters and hosts on shows are all of a sudden resigning, or they're getting found out about interviews and what have you. Whilst Costco has just expanded another few more stores in America. But what was interesting, that article came out of Yahoo Finance in Canada. Well, just a little update, Canada. Remember, you are already part of the US. Therefore, Costco is opening up 2 new stores in your country, but they're not really in your country. They're in New York, states and things like that as well. But my point being is that this is all coming together. Whilst in Australia, we see federal court action against the Hume Council re union pays. This is a changing of the old guard. You need to see these changes. Understand, of course, the unions are finally standing up for we the people. This is exciting. We often talk about here in Australia about how the councils are moving into counties. But I'm also seeing things such as the state government stepping in and taking over a housing project, for instance, across Geelong in Victoria to build 23,000 new homes in 4 precinct structure plans. So they're building 4 precedences and 23,000 houses. Now, what happened there is that this money was given to the council to do these projects, and of course they've been stationary. The state government steps in here. This is going to expose not just the council, but of course that of the money laundering that's been going on in amongst these councils. So get excited when you actually read some of these news. Don't get angry at the fact of the actual what is being implied, but make sure we understand that this is about the restructure. It is a slow process. We also saw over in the United States, this was very interesting because I'm a numbers person, and these numbers just jumped at me. It was just a really random article, to be quite honest. While Left Bank is a chain of restaurants that announced on the 22nd of June that they will close all 7 restaurants by the end of the day, 24th of June. Left Bank. There was a 22, a 23, and a 24, and a 7. Just for those people who love gematria and numbers, just a random little note. Okay, let's get into some real gritty stuff. With all the onset of the RV, of course, we always talk about, of course, currencies. But when you think about currencies, I want you to think about the rare earth minerals and the commodities that are in your country. Which countries hold the biggest mineral reserves in the world? Well, Australia does. Australia holds the largest reserves in 5 major minerals that are more than any other country in the world. The 5 minerals are gold. 20% of the country is full of gold. Uranium, iron ore, zinc, and manganese here in Australia. Watch this space. China leads, of course, in the rare earth and the graphite reserves, which gives them plenty of strategy as we move forward into the trading market, which we are about to get into in a very short minute, because there's some very interesting updates regarding the Forex. But let's focus on some minerals that are heavily concentrated in a few other countries, because this is what is going to support their currencies moving forward. It's also going to connect you then to the Forex exchange, which we'll touch on in just a moment. Peru has the largest silver reserves. Did a story in some private groups quite some time ago, and we talked about the following of Jesus being in Peru. Christmas was actually started in Peru. The fact that Peru has the largest silver reserves is very, very interesting. There's a lot more to that story. Of course, then when you go down to Chile,
we're halfway.
Copper and lithium, the largest reserves in the world. Russia, diamonds. Was the soccer ball representing also the diamonds, not just the Tiffany box? Coal, of course, is in US. US hold the most coal. Bauxite and aluminium mining, that is in Guinea. Indonesia is nickel. In Canada, potash. But the one I want to bring your attention to is in the Congo, who hold 50% of the world's cobalt. Keep that in mind as well as we move through this next transition. So, tell me, ladies and gentlemen, did BRICS just announce, whilst we're watching all of this other chaos, did they just announce the gold standard? Well, it certainly sounded like it. They are saying that they prepared a draft. Now, understand this, ladies and gentlemen, when they say they prepared a draft, it actually means it's already done. A draft framework for a gold-backed settlement token designed for cross-border transactions between central banks. Now, understand that the central banks that we're talking about are going to be 7 kingdoms. if you were to go into the Bank of International Settlements, you would find that there is quite a few central banks that don't exist any longer. Well, they kind of exist, but they're not on the system of settlements. What happens here, this is to facilitate all the trade. That's why it's important to focus also on what are they trading, what's going to be traded within those countries that we just talked about. And of course, this creates a financial flow that is not relying on the US dollar. It is going to be reliant on the commodities. That's why I brought up the world reserves of the commodities across the globe. While 8 cents of every currency transaction is now in one. Now that's very, very interesting. That tells me, as I said, that the quantum system is linking through, as I said, the largest currency or the most fluent currency, of course, is the Chinese yuan. The Forex currency exchange is hedging in commodities to support this new global framework of BRICS. It is as simple as that. Your Forex exchange has basically, from this prepared announcement from BRICS, is telling me that they are supporting the framework of your gold standard. Something a few people may have not quite understood or perhaps missed in all of the chaos that's going on around you. In Russia's central bank, they are going to be paying their banks to process salaries in digital rubles. Wow, that's a pretty big thing. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what we call a forced reset. When you start paying your banks to pay their salaries in digital form, this forces that reset. So get excited. It's not about control. It's about digitalizing your currency on the Forex exchange through the central banks against your gold. That's very, very exciting. The value of the Iran central bank, whilst there's supposedly being a war on, the foreign assets have risen 92.9% in this last fiscal year. So as of March the 20th, a very significant day. Maybe I should have done a little bit more on March the 20th. That is when the flip happened. We actually kind of announced that on the show, I think, from memory. Just putting it out there. But what happens is 92.9% increase in Iran's central bank's foreign assets. Of course, these assets were based upon the assets that they need to hold to accumulate the reset of their currency. See how everything is quite important, isn't it? What's happening in Iraq? A very interesting deal. So when we talk about quantum and blockchain, we're talking about fiber optic cables that connect us all together. Well, Iraq's fiber optic transition is linking them with Qatar, connecting the data from Asia to Arabian Gulf right through to Europe. That, ladies and gentlemen, is very, very important. That is connecting them all to the quantum system. What was interesting, I'm going to take a half a step back here just to remind us that during the COVID pandemic, which was the onset of all of this introduction, of course, to us, to BRICS and what have you, their customs, of course, they closed down all the corners of all the borders, I should say, in Iraq. And we focused on Iraq because it's easy to understand because the dinar is going to be the father of the dollar. Now, what happens there is with Iran, they actually mandated a universal automated system for customs data. Now, this has been talked about for many, many years. We've heard the likes of militiamen talk about this, and this is the Cicadia mandates. Now, this is an electronic invoicing verification that has to be mandated in these ports that were closed down that are now gone electronic by July the 10th. Another new market to focus on. This is important because this also proves and indicates that we are transitioning into, of course, this new quantum system. This integrates Iraq, Arabia, and Europe, because they're all connected with the development road, to integrate directly with the global network, that being a Secudo, I think it's called. I can't even pronounce it myself. I know militiamen and I always laugh about it. We can't pronounce it. But understand that this is your final connection, and they're saying that everything will be verified by July the 10th. All of this going on, we also see all of those IMF articles that the girls drop over here. Your fabulous admin, ladies and gentlemen. When you see all those Article 8s from the IMF, it is all now come together. These are the recommendations or the requirements for them, for all of those countries to be on the Forex. So understand, although you may not understand those articles, you saw all those IMF Article 8s that came through. Well, these articles or abstracts, of course, lead us to the man and proctor of the law of money. There's a fantastic article that I had to put a little fiery little flame on it to go back and have a listen or a read of that article or the abstract from the man and proctor on the law of money abstract. It is a very important one. It will get you very excited. Let's move on. As I said at the beginning of the day, congratulations to the 10.7 thousand subscribers that we have. Well, how ironic. As I pressed the button to come on today, I looked up and we had 111 participants. But let's move forward from all of that. A summer Davos. When we think about the past and the future predicts the past. The past of the World Economic Forum is definitely, certainly gone. If you're still attached to the World Economic Forums, then you're still living in the past. Go back and have a read of this little article. This one was a bonza article. It was, of course, the 17th annual meeting of the Summer Davos, the hot brand new World Economic Forum, which has changed in the background for quite some time. We here on the Mayhem Mouse saw the integration or the restructure of the World Economic Forum over the last, say, 12 months. We saw it be split up into the Eastern and the Western Forum. Then it became the International Forum. Well, the 17th Summer Davos annual meeting, its title was New Champions 2026. And for this young lady, that gets me very excited because it said New Champions. And we are in a new world and a new journey. You just have to believe it. Okay? So this is, of course, as I said, the reshaping of the world's economic trajectory to the moon and the innovation frameworks. This is another great article I thoroughly recommend that you read. Let's go to Zimbabwe, because this also links up with the currency and the currency flows. This is one of those that I call, is like a validation to possible rumors that are out there. We're actually seeing Zimbabwe trade connect with the Chinese railroad. It certainly puts a thought into my mind that Zimbabwe bonds, railway bonds, think currency on that particular article. Well, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we cannot go past the show without the biggest take, I think, from the rally to end all rallies is this statement. And to end the show, I'm going to add a little bit more, not to be disrespectful to President DJT, but I'm just added a little bit more. We, the people, are the chosen ones who are carrying forward the light or the beacon of light of Western civilization. Because this is, ladies and gentlemen, the very beginning of the golden age, not just of America, but of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a good morning, good afternoon.
Yes, Boz, I got one more photo off her page. So you guys can check it out here. There you guys go. I don't know nothing about this, so you guys do. Anybody see that yet? Yeah, finally go something about that. So I got 5 DJ Derek Johnson ones, and I got like 4 5-minute ones. Then I'm gonna try to play this hour interview with Alex Boland. I don't play him, but I'm playing it because of Tina, because she's speaking on his channel. That's the second video I got with her. Yeah, so we still got quite a bit to share. We'll go back and forth. Derek will do one clip and then do a 5-minute clip on the other one. So this is the 12-minute one, the first. This will be the 12-minute one, I think.
Blueprint of everything going on, operational. You don't need to know the missions. You don't need to know that until they show you what they did. All right. And it's unfortunate. It's very unfortunate that we got to a place in history where they have to drag things out and show it to you crumb by crumb, the big dogs. But that's where we are, because if they would have dropped all of this on the American people at one time, a group wouldn't have believed it. A portion wouldn't appreciate it. So how else were they going to do it? So it's like I was joking when I was in Orlando this past week. I'm going to start carrying a blank piece of paper around. And anytime, especially a patriot, says something about, well, why would it look this way? Why would Donald Trump let it go to hell? First off, when were we not in hell? When was this country, when did it not go to hell? So that's the first thing you have to answer. Second, I'm going to lay a piece of paper down in front of you, and I'm going to be worse, 100 times worse than Elon. I'm 100 times worse than Elon. No 5 bullet points for your rear ends. No, sir, no, ma'am. I want full pages, front and back, 5 pages of what you would do as commander-in-chief. What would you have done? What would you do? Because you ain't done nothing yet. Most people ain't done jack doo-doo your whole life, okay? So what would you have done? I want a full-blown analysis of what you would have done that would have solved everything. Trafficking, child trafficking, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking. All right. What are we going to do with the cartels? All right. How are you going to round them all up? All right. Without them creating a massive civil disturbance. How are you going to do that? All right. Also, same thing with all the trafficking. How are you going to do that without all of them disrupting like a volcano and going stir crazy on all the people? All right. What are you going to do in the Middle East? And keep in mind, this is all simultaneous. All these things are going on simultaneously. So no civil wars, no world wars. What were you going to do differently? What were you going to do that's so different that was going to make everybody be distracted when they need to be distracted, whine, gripe, fuss, moan, complain? All those things ain't hurt nobody. And I don't know a single person who died from poverty. I don't know a single person. The people I know are actually people, I can pick on my own people. Southern people, no, just watch this. The average Southerner has a house that's 2 or 3 bedrooms, 2 or 3 stories. All right. They got 1 or 2 kids. All right. The mortgage is probably $2,000, $2,500 a month. So there's that. The guy drives a 2500 HD 4x4 that rarely sees the mud, rarely sees 4-wheel drive. It's a $65,000 to $75,000 vehicle. There's that. The guy. The female in the South, anywhere from a Nissan Altima to a Toyota 4Runner. All right, so anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 right now with the prices the way they are. All right, that's just their vehicles and their mortgage. What about their food? What about their water? What about their electricity bills? All right, there's that. Then their children. Wow. All the expenses you have with children, school, hobbies, school appliances, everything, wardrobes, etc. All right. Also, their casual wardrobe if they don't go to a private school. So if they go to a public school, but also the things that they want and desire on the outside of school. So all those costs. All right. So boats, ATVs. Every Southern I know has a boat or an ATV and or both. Every Southern I know has a hunting lease, what they call a hunting lease. So $800 to $2,000 a year. You know what they were doing during 2020? You know what they were doing during the 2008 financial crisis? You know what they were doing? Majority of them at the bar on Friday night, at the bar on Saturday night, at the beach, at the lake. Can't nobody be saying anything in this nation. When we have pickleball championships, pickleball is on TV now. Pickleball championships. When we have freaking pickleball for a hobby and a sport that's now got a trophy that you can win, we ain't no poor damn country. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear this stuff about, oh, why would Donald Trump let it go to hell? When did it not go to hell? When was gas never not where it should be? Where are food costs, housing costs, etc.? Have you not looked at prices in the last 20 years? They've never been where they were supposed to be. And we can go back further than that. Well, I tell you, the attitudes of some people, you don't deserve what President Trump and the generals and the world leaders and the leaders are doing. You really don't deserve it with those attitudes. The people who have those attitudes, not those of you who don't. But there's a lot of people with the negative Nancy and the Debbie Downers. You don't deserve what's going on. You really don't. You don't deserve what they're doing. The flip side is, though, is if you're still paying attention to Zelensky and President Trump, if you're still looking at that and you're still reacting to that, that's all show. Laws and orders prove this. So see, I can tell when people are reading and studying and applying. Reading and studying ain't no good, though, if you're not making it applicable. You know, the old saying, knowledge is power. No, it's not. Knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is power. You can read and study all day long, but if you're not applying it right here, then you won't be able to look at things and go, that is this law, and this law invoked, and this executive order, and there's the visuals to it. Because if you're watching the way I'm watching, the way I'm trying to teach you to watch, I can't teach you if you're not doing your reading and your studying. I now know what school teachers feel like. I now know what preachers feel like when they say, hey, you got to read this. So when you get on the test and then you go to your professor or your teacher after class, say, how did I miss this question? I don't know. What did you read? Did you not read the book? Because it's right here in chapter this, right here, right here, right here. I know how they feel now. Hats off to all you teachers out there who have passion, teachers and preachers who preach from your heart, teach from your heart. Because
how's this first one, guys? I'm Derek.
I've got it, but my hat's off to you, teachers of all kinds. Because I'm telling you, man, it's so frustrating to know that it's right there. And if you can't afford the book, you don't have any complaints. All of my sites have everything. You just have to piece it together. The books are pieced together chronologically, but it's all there. That's why I had the documents so early, but the documents are out of date, and a lot of the links don't work because they're old. And so from 2017 to 2021, I made those documents of what was going on from 2017 to 2021. The books I have that are #1 bestsellers because of y'all, they are the chronological blueprint of the dash between President Trump 45-47. I mean, he either made an error, which is a blatant, obvious visual error, or it means exactly what punctuation is meant for the last gazillion years we've had punctuation. Which one is it? So there's a huge difference. This is going to help some people out. There's a huge difference in certain podcasters who are out there. There are a ton of faces and names, and they all have good graphics. Oh, Lord, help us, God. Their graphics will make you think that they're the next big whatever going to be. That don't get you anywhere. And I know a lot of good podcasters, but there's a right now where we are, you need a veteran in your life like myself who knows exactly what's going on by laws and orders, can quote it in like the back of my eyelids, because it is the back of my eyelids. It's fluent. It's right here. It's right here. And these two right here are connected. All right. It don't matter who doesn't know. See, there's a lot of people out there going, why aren't other veterans saying anything? Why aren't the veterans? Why don't they know? I can't help other veterans. I can't help them. All right. There is one good thing about a veteran, though, is if a veteran don't know, and if they value their oath, when they're presented with the facts of what's going on by military laws and military orders, 99% of them are going to be on board because they value their oath and they also value their branch that they served in the military. All right. So there's a huge difference in podcasters who are out there talking about stuff that you can see on mainstream media. There are a ton of them. They regurgitate everything that you're seeing and they put it in a 3 to 5 minute little clip, sometimes shorter than that. That does not solve anything. If you want to know what's going on, you have to know someone like me who can break down all the laws and orders. And it sounds like a broken record. It does. But it's a beautiful broken record because that's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything else. And there's not any more laws and orders to know. Once you know the ones that are in place, that's all you need, baby. That's all you need. So is it a lot? Initially, if you hadn't read all of it. But once you learn it all, it's not a lot. Once you get it. So there's podcasters out there, yes, they do. They'll keep spinning stuff to make it kick the can right on down the road, as the saying is. They spin stuff. Oh, you know, so-and-so got taken out way back here. Look, you need stuff you can have proof. That's how you have cordial conversations with people who are different than you. You don't go at them with some bull crap that Elvis is still alive and, you know, aliens walk around on, you know, in the middle of New Mexico in the middle of the night when everybody's, you know, getting high on the doobies in Albuquerque. You know, you need to go with stuff that are tangible, things that are in law. You can show and say, hey, this is what's going on. And here's the visuals. This is what they've given. Start light first. Don't try to nosedive into something like some white rabbit stuff. Just things that you can show people. That's how we get things flipped. That's how we also get rid of social media. Now we're not going to get rid of social media necessarily, but I mean that's how we're gonna get everything to a quell, meaning and stop all this. President Trump and them are going to stop it too. The 1798 Act that he talks about, the Alien Act, guess what? It ain't just the Alien Act. It's the 1798 Alien and Sedition Act. It's got 4 laws attached to it. So that's why it pays to read. Closest friends know.
Okay, that's 1 of 4 after we got with Derek. I'm going to do the 5-minute one. That's when we get all those 4 done. We're going to play that hour interview. If we like it or not, I'll stop it if it's not very good. Let me know on this one, guys.
Under threat of violence, to pay mandatory taxes for life. There are hundreds of taxes, from property tax to income tax to inheritance tax. You must pay them all, or else the government will use the power and force of its machinery to seize your bank account, arrest you, and put you in jail. How is that any different than the mafia? Governments demand we pay our dues regularly, promise us we'll be safe and protected if we do. And if we don't, agents come around to shake us down or put us away. If taxes were voluntary, then governments wouldn't automatically be immoral or criminal, because they would be completely funded by donation only. Thus, their very existence limited by voluntarism. Name one thing that governments provide that people couldn't do better, easier, and more efficiently at the community level. There is nowhere on earth you can go that isn't controlled by a statist government. Every piece of land has been divided up and claimed by 196 nations, all of which are controlled by some form of forced governance. There is nowhere left on earth that sovereign, freedom-loving individuals can go live freely without a mafioso government forcing them to pay taxes and obey laws. All current forms of government initiate and mandate violence and slavery upon their populations. We are all slaves to our governments because every nation forces under threat of violence and kidnapping that we must pay them a percentage of our income. So if the definition of slavery is forcefully taking 100% of someone's income, what is it called when governments forcefully take 60% of someone's income? Is that not slavery? We are taught in school that slavery ended long ago, and it is universally understood that slavery is immoral. But if governments still are forcibly taking even 1% of their population's income, that is still slavery, and even 1% slavery is immoral. The very definition of the word government is mind control, and the vast majority of people worldwide are absolutely mind controlled by their governments, medias, and education systems to believe that their statist government is a moral and altruistic institution that exists for the benefit of the people. The reality is, of course, the opposite. The reality is that all nations are like open-air slave plantations, allowing their servant populations to choose their occupation, giving the illusion of freedom, then swooping in on payday to steal the fruits of your labor. This is why all governments are criminal and immoral, and why the only system of just governance is anarchism or voluntarism. There is no political solution to the problem of government. Voting for a new ceremonial figurehead every 4 years has never, will never, and could never create any significant, lasting positive change, because governments cannot be improved or made moral from within. None of them respect the right of the individual to opt out of being governed. All governments around the world initiate the use of violence in the form of police and coercion in the form of taxes, and this is absolutely immoral and unacceptable. Consensual sex is moral because it is voluntary, whereas rape is immoral because it's forced. Similarly, things like charity donations and the free market are moral because they are voluntary, whereas theft and taxation are immoral because they are forced. The root problem festering within all governments around the world is not the rife internal corruption or criminality, Those are merely symptoms and side effects of statism. The paramount problem with government is that its mandates are mandatory. Its compulsions are compulsory. For governments to be moral institutions, all taxes and interactions must be made voluntary. If governments are honestly in existence for our benefit, then they must be voluntary and never initiate the use of violence against their populations.
All right, I wasn't sure about that one, but it looks like it was an important one. We got a second cat lady 2 minutes coming up here.
I've got it pinned on here. It's the same exact name, Crazy Cat Lady. Lately, you'll see the same exact Trump fight sign. You must follow me there because they're going to take away my account very soon. I want to give you guys a little bit of hope today, okay? President Trump was at a religious meeting today, and he addressed the Mamdani thing. He said Mamdani told everybody what he was going to do, and that is what he's doing. He said communism is not free, and it's not happening in America. So he is very well aware of what's going on, and he is not going to allow this. So I can guarantee you this man has a plan, okay? So what I also want to let you know is they are now calling, the socialists are now calling for Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer's job. Is that not just hilarious? So you guys, y'all kept on and you kept on. Now they're going to push your asses out. They're also saying that they're going to try to take over Michigan and Virginia. And there's one other state they're going to try to take over. They're trying to put socialists in there. Their goal is to take over the whole country.
Ryan Eagle, there you go. How you said next person in line.
They have froze rent in New York, just like Mamdani said he's going to do, starting October the 1st.
I got a video on that with Cash. You guys, should we play that, what she just said? I think we should play that next.
First, all rent will be frozen for 2 years. This is step one. Step two is when they get involved, they be in the government, until they tell you couldn't, they make it so hard for landlords to collect rent. It's happening right now. Rent collection is down in New York because the government makes it hard. What's wrong with me today? New York is making it so hard to collect rent by giving the renters all this extra time and all these extra things that landlords are just giving up, basically trying to collect. So now they're like, rent collections are down, right? Well, you do know that when they pass all these strict laws, even like the thing that I told you that somebody told me that even if there's a beehive in a rental somewhere, they could use that to, the government comes in. I have to be really careful what I say because I can't sneeze on here without TikTok giving me a strike. This is step one. Step two is, bye-bye, landlords. The government now owns your property. If you think I'm kidding you, look it up. All right, guys, take care.
Wow, she had two good ones today, Kay and Lucy. We'll go back to DJ after this.
Frankie smells something she wants. Oh, but don't get too excited. She has a sensitive stomach, and we usually avoid.
Millions of New York apartments now have frozen rents. Look at this.
New York, the Independent Rent Guidelines Board just froze the rent. That means if you're one of the more than 2 million New Yorkers who lives in a rent-stabilized apartment, your rent's going to be frozen next year.
From the top of a balcony to down by the stage, rent-stabilized New Yorkers erupted in celebration. For the first time ever, the Rent Guidelines Board voted to freeze rents on both 1- and 2-year leases. A historic
gonna be a
decision
nightmare.
that means more than 1 million New Yorkers living in rent-stabilized apartments won't pay $1 more in rent for the next 2 years. All but one board member voted in favor of the measure, with Mayor Zohran Mamdani calling it a historic victory for New Yorkers.
It means everything. It means that our voices were heard finally.
Bronx tenant Ann Maiden says she can finally breathe again.
But landlords called the whole process a sham.
A sham?
Just hours before the vote, Christina Smith, a member of the board who represented landlords, resigned from her post, accusing the panel of ignoring data because it was required to deliver a freeze. Building owners say the decision means there will be less investment in maintenance and repairs, ultimately hurting renters.
So renters
We have to
lose.
lay off some of the supers. Only choice. It's a business. People don't get it.
I'm so proud of people my age and young people getting together and forming coalitions.
But they don't understand. This just doomed New York City's supply of apartments. There will now be less apartments for multiple reasons. And here's the biggest one.
I feel like I'm standing in a time capsule from the 70s. This is a 1-bedroom apartment in the Bronx that rents for $811 a month.
Okay.
That's if the landlord were to actually put it up for rent. This is a rent-stabilized apartment, but look around. The landlord says there is so much work that has to be done here to bring it up to code that it doesn't make financial sense to rent it out.
The owner is deciding to lose less money by just keeping it vacant.
Chipped and peeling lead paint, an outdated bathroom, and that red carpet, far from luxurious.
Not exactly the red carpet people want to walk into.
Kenny Burgos is the CEO of the New York Apartment Association and advocates on behalf of landlords who own rent-stabilized apartments, like this one in Mount Eden. It's been vacant since the last tenant moved out around 2021.
And now its rent is frozen forever. So the laws in New York were already so bad. This place, which is pretty big, was being lived in by no one. And now that's definitely going to remain the case. But wait till you hear why.
Why is this apartment still vacant so many years later?
Because the law today says that when the tenant moves out, you
Well,
still,
I
of
got
course,
this one
before
in.
law and after, you would have to upgrade and renovate this unit and bring it up to the current housing standard of 2026. The difference is now the law says we don't really care what you spend. You cannot change the rent from the previous tenants.
A 2019
just sits
change to
there.
the state's rent laws got rid of the 20% vacancy bonus, where landlords could hike rents for new tenants.
It's really a crisis.
Assemblywoman Linda Rosenthal, chair of the Housing Committee, voted for that bill.
We found that with the 20% vacancy bonus, it was an incentive for landlords to harass tenants out. Finally, we righted the scales. Landlords didn't like that, and what they said immediately after we passed it was, we're going to keep apartments off the market.
But that's reality. Reality says if your $800 apartment costs $100,000 to fix up and you can only charge $800 a month for it, you're not going to dump $100,000 into a losing investment. It's a business.
What do you say to that?
I say, what do they then say to landlords who have already gone bankrupt, who've already been in foreclosure?
Something definitely wrong here. The tug of war between landlords and tenants advocates leaves lifelong New Yorkers like Troy Williams caught in limbo.
I live in a tier 2 shelter right now, and that's why I have a voucher now, you know. And I'm really trying to, get back to where I was this time 2 years ago.
So just how many rent-stabilized apartments are sitting empty with low rents that need extensive
Good
repairs?
question.
Well, we actually just got an answer from the city's Department of Housing Preservation and Development. A survey found just under 2,500 units that have been vacant for a year or more, needing extensive
Okay.
repairs with rents below $1,000. Of course, these are units sitting empty when so many are desperate for an affordable place to live.
And that's just the units they know about. When this law passed back in 2019 that capped all these rents and said no more rent increases on the stabilized apartments when somebody moves out, even if you renovate, you know what landlords started doing? If they had a stabilized apartment right here, and then next to it they had a free market apartment, when both were empty, guess what they did? They combined them and made the free market apartment much larger and jacked up the rent on the whole thing. So a lot of these apartments, when this law was passed, vanished and are never coming back. But it gets even worse because all the people celebrating, they don't understand where this is going to lead them.
It's just cosplaying fairness. This isn't real fairness.
Oh.
Jan Lee, whose family has owned this Chinatown building for nearly a century, is crying foul, accusing the Rent Guidelines Board of freezing rent despite mounds of data he says shows rising costs for landlords.
They're not even hiding the bias anymore. The mayor had campaigned on a rent freeze. He appoints 75% of the board, and now he's got his hand on the scale.
Just hours before Thursday's meeting, drama unfolded when Christina Smith, a member of the board who represented landlords, resigned from her post, accusing the process of being broken and unjust.
Which it is.
But it did little to sway the result, as the Rent Guidelines Board voted 7-1 in an historic first to approve a 0% increase on both 1- and 2-year leases.
So here's the thing you got to understand. In order for this to work,
if you're 62 or older, there's a way to access your home equity without monthly mortgage payments. It's called a reverse mortgage. You can use the cash for anything.
you can freeze the rents, sure. But what about freezing the taxes that the landlord pays? What about freezing the landlord's insurance, which goes up every single year? What about freezing the landlord's utility costs, which in New York are some of the highest in the entire country? Remember, these landlords, they have to pay for hot water, cold water, and heat, and all that stuff's going up. Meanwhile, rents are frozen. It does not make sense to rent these apartments out anymore. It makes sense to instead keep them off the market forever because you're losing money renting them to people.
Renters say the measure was necessary as they struggle to combat inflation and cuts to social services.
What about the landlord's inflation?
It's so much to really affect my life in a good way.
I feel very good because in New York, that's one of the biggest problems that we have. You know, rent is high and we really needed it stabilized.
Mayor Mamdani, who campaigned on freezing the rent, insisted the board's decision would be fair and impartial.
Okay, well, he appointed every single person on the board, but check this out. The $800 apartment we saw, if the rent were to go up 2% instead of 0, it would have been a $16 a month increase, which means the people cheering are happy about saving $20. Like, this is not even enough money to get yourself a Big Mac meal at a McDonald's in New York City. You can't even do that. So what are people saving? There is no savings here. On a $2,000 apartment, you're saving $40 a month. Like, is that money? Yeah, it is. But that kind of money doesn't go very far in New York. Things are already so expensive, already so overpriced here. This doesn't actually help. But what it does is hurt. And maybe that's why the mayor is so excited about this.
Will ultimately hurt.
Yep. If we keep eroding one side of the equation, something's got to give, and the people in those buildings are going to suffer. So there has to be some kind of fairness and recognition of the math.
Landlords are always saying, like, it's wonderful. I know we want to have decent rent. But at the same time, landlords like, we also have to maintain the building, and we have taxes, and we have all that stuff. So there are two sides to this story.
Absolutely.
Building's going to collapse.
A very valid discussion that's happening in New York City, which is, can landlords absorb this rent freeze for 2 years or even longer? And there's going to have to be some compromises that are made behind the scenes on how landlords are going to maintain those costs.
Okay.
Yeah,
How do renters
compromises.
know if they live
That
in
means
a stabilized
firing
apartment? How can
people.
they-
This is no longer just a city that is a playground for the rich. This is a city for the working people who make it run, and we are making it run for us. And
But the rent's still too high for most people. And it's now it's frozen. It's going to stay that way.
Struggling to figure out how we're going to make ends meet.
Yeah.
For years, landlords have run the city, and this is like a new era of tenant power. We have a rent-free
Tenant
mayor.
power.
Hundreds of people came out
A
and testified,
rent-free mayor.
thousands online. Like, landlords' days are over. Tenants are in power now.
Landlords'
and
days are over.
It feels amazing.
Landlords who say they are struggling with rising costs like fuel and insurance, though, lambasting the decision.
Listen to
The
this.
whole
process is such a farce.
We're gonna have to cut back. We'll have to lay off people. We'll have to lay off some of the supers. Only choice. It's a business. People don't get it. This is a business. It's not a choice that you think this is for free.
So rents just got frozen. So people who already have an $800 apartment can always have an $800 apartment instead of an $810 apartment next year. And what that means is the person who cleans the building just got fired. Because you know what? There's not enough money around to pay him anymore. Now the building stinks. Now it's going to start falling apart. What a disaster.
Freezing your rent.
Mayor Mamdani made it a signature issue in his campaign, then followed through on his pledge to appoint half a dozen members of the 9-member board.
Buildings with rent-stabilized apartments saw their revenue
So he
increase by
appointed
more than
everyone on the
6%
board.
last year.
But while the outcome seemed like a foregone conclusion, it did not come without drama.
It was rigged.
This morning, Christina Smith, a board member appointed to represent landlords, abruptly resigned, claiming the mayor stacked the deck. The mayor, for his part, in a statement tonight, calling it a historic victory for tenants, adding, "This is the relief that working people across our city deserve."
Except for the working people who used to work on the buildings and now can't because they just lost the jobs. And look, as somebody that used to live in a rent-stabilized apartment in New York City, in the exact same neighborhood where the mayor of New York himself used to live, Astoria, Queens, I can tell you that having one of these apartments, it might sound good at first, but it's actually a trap. It totally messes up your ability to stay upwardly mobile in New York, because if you get into one of these places, my rent at the time was $1,800 a month. We got in, the increases were minimal. But when it came time for us to move into something else, all of the other rents had gone up astronomically outside of this stabilized place. So in order to jump to a bigger apartment, to an actual 2-bedroom, because our family was growing, we had to pay double the rent. We were not prepared for that. It was a massive shock. In fact, the rent was more than double. It was $4,500 a month for the 2-bedroom we found after paying $1,800 a month. So people get trapped in these things and they can't move. And now, yes, the rents are frozen on these apartments, but here's what that's going to do. That's going to mean that the people who have them have even less of a reason to move. And if people aren't moving out of the places where they live, new people who do not have an apartment yet cannot move in to New York City. And when you have zero turnover, the rent on the tiny number of apartments that still exist is just gonna go through the roof. It's gonna go higher and higher. New York City is already breaking records for how high the rents are here on these market rate apartments. And if people can't find a place to live because nobody's willing to move out and no one has the ability to be upwardly mobile, that is essentially a tax on people that live in New York City, a hidden tax. Because if you wanna leave, you're going to have to pay double the amount of rent. People cannot afford that. When it's time to move out or when it's time to get a bigger place, people either have to vanish or forego opportunities in life just to stay in a place that was built hundreds of years ago and is falling apart. What a nightmare. And what this basically means is the only way to stay in New York City now is to get a rent-stabilized apartment and to literally do nothing other than live there. Don't move in with other people. Don't get married. Don't have a family. Don't have a bunch of kids, because you're not going to be able to fit.
The Democrats have a problem on their hands now that, Obama and Mamdani, they're two true leaders. Neither of them can run for president in 2028.
Well, Mamdani was here, as you know, twice. And he's a very nice guy. He's a charming guy, good-looking guy. We talk.
This is the fake ad you see everywhere, right? But this is Ebony, a real game. Now, I know what you're thinking. Aren't they exactly the same? No, because Ebony is the real number gate runner game. Got to try it, huh? Nobody ever believes me, but this really is just like the ads.
We talk, but you can't raise taxes on people when you force them to leave your state or your city, and they're leaving and they're going to Florida. Most of them are going down to Palm Beach and Miami.
And that's the other end of this that nobody's talking about. So you've got these frozen rents. Yes, if you can get an apartment with frozen rent, you might be sitting pretty until the building you're sitting in ends up collapsing around you and you have to move out and you become homeless anyways. But the few people who end up earning enough money to move out of that apartment and pay much more for something else, if their life expands, well, they're going to get hit extra hard by all of the new taxes that are coming, which means they're going to have to move out, or they're going to have to stay and pay exorbitant amounts of money to live in a city that essentially hates them and doesn't want to see people being upwardly mobile. And this is a massive problem, because this frozen rent could really hurt the job market in New York City in ways that nobody's talking about either. Because let's say that there are very few available apartments. Well, how do you expand your business in New York City? How does a company like JP Morgan bring in a whole bunch of people and build a new office and bring in a ton of jobs? You can't do that because there aren't places for people to live. And every single time buildings get built in New York right now, because rents are so expensive, most of the places that get built, what are they? They're 1-bedrooms, they're studio apartments. You might find a couple of 2-bedrooms. It was very hard for us to find the 3-bedroom apartment that we just moved out of because there are so few of these. And nobody wants to admit that what that means is if you have only studios and 1-bedroom apartments, and those are the entry-level apartments that are on the market that people can move into for $3,000, $4,000 a month, it's either that or it's a bedroom somewhere where you have a roommate. What that means is the only people that can come into New York and even get established or start doing that are people who have no other entanglements. These are going to be single people, people who most likely just graduated college, people who are starting out in the workforce potentially. That means that if you start your company in New York or you want to expand your business in New York, you can really only expand entry-level positions. It's going to be a lot harder to bring in people who have talent and are already successful because perhaps those people have more entanglements in life. Perhaps they have a bunch of kids. Perhaps they have a big family. Perhaps they want to have more than just a shoebox somewhere, and shoeboxes are all that's available. It's going to be hard to attract top talent. Entry-level talent, yes, but top talent, no. And that's going to mean that companies that really want to do something and really want to accomplish something and want to pay people lots of money to come here, well, they're not going to be able to do that in New York because there's going to be nowhere for those people to live. It's not like we're going to have a whole bunch of rent-stabilized apartments popping up. Now, if anything, we're going to have even fewer of them. And nobody wants to admit that what this just did was basically give 2 million people a handout at the expense of everybody else who lives in this city. How is this any different than vote buying? If you're the mayor and you tell 2 million people that they're not going to get a rent increase if they elect you, why would they vote for somebody who doesn't tell them that? The only way that somebody in the mayoral election that brought the city, Mayor Mamdani, could have won would be to out Mamdani. Mamdani wants to freeze your rent. It's already too high. If you elect me, I won't freeze it. I'll bring it down. I'll pay you to live in this city, which is the only fair way to do this because this city's been stealing from you. These landlords are stealing from you, freezing the rent. That just means they're going to keep doing it. I'm going to bring it down. Only problem is that attitude would have got somebody elected who might be even worse. This is crazy. New York's housing situation is just going to get worse after this rent freeze. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to have people that have frozen rent. And for a few years before the building they're living in collapses, they're going to say, you know what, this is great. Mayor Mamdani froze my rent, saved me all kinds of money. But then you're going to have people that don't live in a rent-stabilized apartment. These are going to be people that live in a free market apartment, and they're going to say, hey, what about us? Hey, Mr. Mayor Mamdani, what about us? We want to freeze too. And then the skids will be greased for the city council to introduce citywide rent control, freezing the rent for all apartments in New York City. You see, that's what's next on the table here. Citywide frozen rent. 0 rent increases for anyone. And then wait till you see what a disaster we got on our hands here. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.
Okay, so that was part of what the cat lady was saying. So I got 2 new ones I'm going to play. There was an event on the skies last night that someone records 11 minutes, then a short one. Then we're going to test out that interview. It's an hour of the 7. Probably go to 7. Trying to find which one it was now. Yeah, hold on. Okay, it's the second one. Wow. Hey guys, this is going to be interesting. $11 minutes. It said 5 different events. It said on the this late person's Skywatch panel. Reddit. I guess there's no volume. What do you think, Kay? Lucy? You can't find this on the news, you guys, right? Won't show that on the news. Maria, you lurking? Haven't seen Carol. This is weird. Fine and go. What do you think? Oh, it is? I can't bring it up. I'm trying to see if I can bring it up closer, but I can't. Go Billy Bean yet. Huh. About halfway. There's Maria. How'd it go last night? That's good to hear. Pretty good stuff today. Oh, wow. What do you guys think? That's a good showing there. I got a 20-second clip on one, and then we're going to see how that interview is going to go. You guys just tell me when to stop the interview, and then we'll go on to other things.
Oh my gosh, I pray to God you're for the love and light. You're a beautiful light. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, oh my God. You're awesome. How pretty you are. Thanks for doing that. Okay.
There.
I love Jesus.
Okay.
And I'm covered in his blood, so I love you. You look beautiful. You're just so sparkly and beautiful.
Okay, let's check out this interview with Tina Peters, and you guys like it, I'll play the whole hour. This is our second video with Tina since she's gotten out. I don't normally play the Alex guy.
Why hasn't that been released? You know, it was last year where she said, we have more than enough information and proof on the election machines to bring charges. Where are the charges? Why is nothing happening? And so that's what I'm seeking to find out. And, you know, we have the evidence.
Interview right now.
We have the people that actually did it. You know, and then you can go back to, and I'm sure you've probably covered this, go back to the whistleblowers out of Venezuela that worked under Hugo Chavez and Maduro. And so now we have Delcy Rodriguez as the president down there. She was the head of CNE, who was the people that conduct the elections. And those elections, I don't know how much you've talked to your supporters about this, but this has been a huge election scheme where people have risked their lives to come forward to be whistleblowers in what's been going on in 72 countries around the world. There were files on my machine from the Philippines, from, you know, sometime it would be good to have Mark Cook on so he can show you. He has the image of the Mesa County server on his computer, and he can show you without passwords or anything how easy it was to get in, how easy it is to get in and flip the vote. And you can do it in just minutes. What I want people to understand, and this is, people look at me now and they go, oh, well, if I was just Tina Peters, I could have done this or that. I was a nobody. I was just someone that stepped up to fix the 3.5 hour wait times at Motor V. You know, I had skills, I had things that I felt that I could put to use to help the people in my county. And I think that's the most important thing. If you have a heart for people, when I was being prepared for trial, and I had a really tough attorney that was going to step in and be the DA, right? He was going to be actually, the DA didn't try my case. A lot of people don't know that. It was the Attorney General sent 2 of his best attorneys in to actually conduct the trial. And Phil Weiser, he's running for governor. We can't let that guy get in as governor either. He's another Soros and Obama person. But that aside, I just want to say that if you will stand up and do, you know, the Bible says that because you've been faithful in small things, I will give you governance over much. And so and you want to hear at the end of your life, well done, good and faithful servant. I would have never expected when I put my hand up and said, I can do that, I can fix this And then what happened after that, Alex, was almost once I raised my hand and I said, God, okay, I will do this. I will make the sacrifice to do this. Then things started being put in place, decisions that I had to make. And if you can be swayed by money, power, position, or fear, you can be compromised. People, if people will make that measure against themselves, if you can be swayed by money, power, position, or fear. And there's a lot of people that aren't swayed by money, power, and position necessarily, but they're afraid and they won't get out there and just start and do the things and then let God guide you through it. They know what they're doing and they do it anyway. It's kind of like, okay, come after me. We've already, and I'm speaking for them. We've already captured all the judges, all the DAs through the Soros, all the Secretary of States, they've already, this was a Soros plan from many years ago. I believe started in 2013, probably before that. I know the voting machine fraud was in Venezuela, and Hugo Chavez bragged that he was going to put a black president in. So this goes back, and even the Democrats will tell you they know that the machines cheat. They're on the movie selection code that's on my website. There is you hear Kamala Harris and all these people saying that the voting machines can be hacked out of their own mouth. So they're just using it to their advantage, and no one is stopping them.
All right, joining us is Tina Peters. What a hero, demonized by the left, thrown into prison. They tried to kill her.
I don't understand.
And finally, she is out of prison. She, of course, was an election official, Mesa County clerk, did her job, documented the fraud. Of course, you have the Soros-appointed state-level controller that leaked all the codes to the voting machines right before. Just unbelievable. This with her, I'm going to try to give her the floor. Beautiful lady at a beautiful place she's at right there. Wow, I wish I was there. She's talking about prison life, the good, the bad, and the truth. President Trump, Governor Polis, and the commutation, and what's next, prison reform and election integrity with the midterms less than 5 months out. We couldn't have a better guest here. We had more men and women like her. We wouldn't be in the dire straits we're in. So, Tina, thank you so much. We all salute you, and it's good to see you out of that hellhole.
I'm telling you, a hellhole it was. And Alex, thank you for having me on and shining light on all the problems with Colorado and across the country with our elections.
Thank you. You're the person that experienced it all. I kind of want to go back to the election and what you saw and what you really did, because I followed it versus what the corporate media said. And then the whole sham, who the real bad guys were. Obviously, the Soros, Secretary of State, similar people like her. Even the state tried to disqualify Trump off the ballot, a panel of judges. They tried it in Maine. I mean, these are the people openly trying to steal elections by taking Trump off the ballot, all the things they've done, the vindication now that it's come out of Venezuela and China, what they've done with the machines. I mean, you and Lindell and others are just totally vindicated, but the corporate media won't report on it. And then what prison was like, what it was like to finally get out, and then the upcoming midterms. Start wherever you'd like.
Thanks, JJ.
Well, it all started. I was, as you said, I was a Gold Star mom. I stepped up to run for office because I thought I could reduce the 3.5 hour wait times, Alex, in our local. We'd had a building business for 32 years. So I said, I can fix that. Stepped up to do that, made a lot of changes in the clerk's office. Everything went well. Until I exposed that they were cheating in the elections. And it's interesting because out there, they say that that it was because of the 2020 election. Trump won in our county. Our county was a what we considered a conservative county. He won in Mesa County. It was a municipal election. And this should scare everyone. It's a municipal election. When I pulled those records that night, because I was in charge of 5 divisions and elections was one of them. When I pulled those results that night, I said, there's no way. There's no way those people won. Nobody even knew them. One was appointed by Polis. One had come from California. Our hardworking candidates that had been out there with huge crowds lost, and people that no one knew won. And so I was suspicious, because Jenna Griswold, the person that you were just talking about, was coming in to do what they called a trusted build. Her staff and Dominion voting systems in a little over a month. And I said, we have got to make sure we know what they're doing. I'd heard they were going to delete election records. And so I wanted to do a backup, a legal backup, which was just a preservation of election files before they came in and after they left, and compare the two. When they found out at Mike's symposium in August, so we did this in May, the press would have you to believe, Alex, that this was an unauthorized person. Well, this was a person. First, I went to the county and I asked for help. Nobody would help me. This was a person who was very qualified, had done work for the government in the cyber arena, and so he came in. It was my call to have him in according to the law. I was elected by the people to bring in anyone that I wanted to oversee the elections and to make a backup of the records. So as soon as they found out that they had been exposed, there were 29,000 vital election records of the 2020 and the 2021 election that were deleted. There were parts made in China. There were modems inside the equipment. So many things that it took 3 separate reports. One released in September of 2021, one released and the other 2 released in March of 2022. When this came out, I took it to the first one. I took it to the DA. I took it. Made the commissioners aware of it, and all they did was come after me with force. Ended up taking the machines, seizing the machines, and John Polis, who is the president of Dominion, came in and told the county that they had to buy new machines, and that the county ended up signing a 6-year extension to the contract. So all of this has been to shut me up about what we found in the Mason County reports, 1, 2, and 3 that are on my website.
How frustrating was it to sit there in prison? Because I followed the case. I knew the details, obviously, not as much as you, but I knew the facts. To have them totally misrepresent what you did while you had this Soros operative at the state level that gave away the code keys right before to the machines for whatever reason and was involved in all these cover-ups and then them coming after you for documenting the fraud. How frustrating was that?
That was, here's what happened, because we know every time there was an election, and I would see it on, because I did get Fox News. That's about all I got in prison, after buying my $300 tiny TV. So I was watching Fox News, and when Mondami, was out there, and I said, he's going to win. Spamberger, I said, she's going to win 51%. It's going to happen. And I mean, it wasn't like I had a crystal ball. I know what these machines are capable of doing. So I was just like a horse at a starting gate going, why aren't they bringing out the information that we've already proven? Jenna Griswold should be in prison. Right now, she's for the highest attorney in the state of Colorado for AG. And she is, her ads are saying that she credits herself with putting me in prison. So it was very frustrating. And we tried to get, during the trial, they denied 41 motions by my attorneys, 41 motions. They would not allow due process. They violated my First Amendment right to speak. The judge sentenced me to such a harsh sentence because of my view on voting machines. And they would not let us use the U.S. code that says it was my duty federally to preserve election records. Because the supremacy clauses should have never been prosecuted in a state court. So it was very frustrating. But let me tell you about Jenna Griswold. Besides running for Secretary of State, I ran against her in 2022. Even after all this was found out, I said, I've got to run right into the belly of this beast. So I ran for her office after we discovered all this. And announced I was running for office on February 14th on Steve Bannon's show, and just a week or so later, they indicted me. I kept running. In 4 months, I raised more money than the other two opponents, and actually won the primary. When I went to have the recount, because we knew that we saw votes flipping. Alex, we could see, our cyber experts could see votes flipping from one person to the other.
Pretty good.
And when we asked for a recount, she did it illegally. She said in the law, it says that they have to compare what the machine said to a hand count of sampling of the ballots. And she completely ignored that. She completely ignored the HAVA law that Peter Berninger just put out on about a week ago, a lawsuit against Jenna for accepting federal funds and violating voters' rights. So this woman is you're right, she's a Soros operative. She's put in there, and she's going to win if we don't get these machines. And I've told President Trump this. He called me. I'm very grateful, and we can talk about that. But I said, why is no one talking about this? So we're going to be able to talk, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, let's go back, because you know more about it than I do, and I'm going from memory, about some of the shenanigans she's pulled in the state. I mean, in my view, she's the one that should be under investigation, indicted, and in prison. She's a known Soros operative, just like in Michigan, all over. It's the same story over and over again, the things they pull, and some of the things she did in the 2020 election.
Yeah. So it's interesting that the woman that was running against me for Secretary of State was, her name was Pam Anderson. If that sounds familiar, her mother-in-law is Norma Anderson, the one that filed the lawsuit against Trump to keep Trump off the ballot. And she was also, Pam was also the head of CTCL, remember, Center for Tech and Civic Life, back when Zuckerberg was putting all this money into places to elect Joe Biden. I don't know.
$400 plus million.
Yes, 480 million or something like that. So these are people that are known criminals and need to be in prison. I like that. That's a nice picture.
I do silly stuff.
And that guy right there, the guy that you were just showing, Alex, right there beside her, Matt Crane, he's head of the Colorado County Clerks Association. So over 64 counties, he's the one that advises them and supposed to be the liaison, yes, between Jenna. His wife has worked for Smartmatic and Dominion for over 2 decades. So tell me there's not some something going on there. Exactly. So it's and then
I'm sorry, this stuff is so serious. I joke around a little bit so I don't go crazy.
I know. Well, you have to laugh because it gets so ridiculous. I mean, there's so much.
Here we are. Partial voting systems passwords were exposed on Colorado Secretary of State's website. Well, I'm sure that's just an honest mistake.
No, they were all of them on and see, so when you were talking about the charges against me, so influencing a public servant, the felony 4 that I was charged with, one of the felonies that accounted for my 9 years was influencing a public servant. Do you know who that public servant was?
Tell us.
It was the guy sitting there deleting 29,000 election records off the server that I swore an oath to Colorado and an oath to the
and aren't you supposed to keep, I forget state and federal laws, like 2 to 4 years, aren't you supposed to keep records? And didn't they later themselves, once they got statewide, destroy a bunch of evidence?
Oh yes. So that's what they did. So what they did was they went in and destroyed the evidence of the 2020 election off the server. And we have the proof, Alex. We have the images. They're unalterable images that were that point of time on the election server, and then after they left that point of time. So we have the proof when you compare the two. And I encourage everyone to go on tinapeters.us, go and read the Mesa County reports 1, 2, and 3. You can just read the executive summary, and it will blow your mind what we have proof of. So why isn't these people in prison?
That's right. Everybody should go to your site right now. Invaluable information. TinaPeters.us. Obviously, they threw you in prison to send a message to any other election officials that would dare do what you've done. And now others we learn have as well, and whistleblowing and things have been a little more careful or not as bold as you, which you weren't being bold, you're doing your job. But obviously, they wanted to send a message to scare other people. But more importantly, they wanted to lock you up as a witness, didn't they, to discredit you and try to shut down you being able to testify. How soon until you're testifying before Congress? Because obviously that's what we need to hear.
Well, and that's what I'm waiting. I'm asking why isn't the information Tulsi Gabbard has? Why hasn't that been released? It was last year where she said we have more than enough information and proof on the election machines to bring charges. Where are the charges? Why is nothing happening? And so that's what I'm seeking to find out. And we have the evidence. We have the people that actually did it. And then you can go back to, and I'm sure you've probably covered this, go back to the whistleblowers out of Venezuela that worked under Hugo Chavez and Maduro. And so now we have Delcy Rodriguez as the president down there. She was the head of CNE, who was the people that conduct the elections. And those elections, I don't know how much you've talked to your supporters about this, but this has been a huge election scheme where people have risked their lives to come forward to be whistleblowers in what's been going on in 72 countries around the world. There were files on my machine from the Philippines, sometime it would be good to have Mark Cook on so he can show you. He has the image of the Mesa County server on his computer, and he can show you without passwords or anything how easy it was to get in, how easy it is to get in and flip the vote. And you can do it in just minutes.
Yes, I've had Peter Tickton on those, really helps you a lot. A great guy, Trump confidant lawyer. We've had on Patrick Byrne and a bunch of others, and it's very cut and dry. And I talked to people that were in the cabinet meetings. Oh, this was back in November of last year, so about 9 months ago, who were in the cabinet meeting, and they were actually defending Susie Wiles. They're like, no, Susie Wiles was running it. Trump came in for a lot of it. Vance was there, and they said, no, we've got the proof. It's all true. The Chinese ran it through Taiwan, through Venezuela. They're doing it in over 100 countries, and we're going to start releasing all the stuff in January. And then basically a little bit came out, but then it just stopped. Tulsi raided Georgia, and so we know this. And the president was given a presentation saying it's all true, sir. What Mike Lindell and all his experts say, what Tina Peters said. Trump's like, I want on that. And then now they've put the deputy communist dictator in who helped run all this in a deal after we got rid of Maduro. And you've got Todd Blanche up there, the Democrat Party operative, and everything has just come to a screeching halt, I'm told by my DOJ sources.
Yes. And why? Well, who is clogging up the works? The only thing that I can make because here we have elections going on that have been going on right now. And now you look at Mondami, he's getting all kinds of people that are his followers are getting elected. That's not an accident. Nobody wants to vote for a communist. I'm sorry. We still are a nation of patriots. And, 1% of the people that are rebel rousers and evil people do not represent our country.
You're totally right. Mondami is literally a communist Islamicist. He's now the kingmaker, not just in New York. And notice, magically, Republican money and even AIPAC money can beat Massey, but nobody can beat these blue cities because it's well known. It's fraud run. And now the hardcore communists have control of the Democrat machine. They're taking over the party. If you thought Schumer was bad and all that, no, they're bringing even a worse crew. And you're absolutely right. And so the left is digging in, putting in hardcore communists to try to counter our populist awakening.
Yes, it's happening. And that's what's so frustrating for me. You ask why, about president. Every day I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I would start working towards, all of the elections and making this right. And still continuing from there to save this country. I mean, Apollo was on doing my shows. I have such a team of supporters. And of course, the news about me being wrongly incarcerated it's done the opposite to what they hoped to do, which was silent me and kill the message. It has put the message forward, but we're in dire straits. We have to stand up and stop these people from being elected. And the foundations of our country, you know this, Alex, the foundations are the elections, because we wouldn't have these people making these crazy rules. I'll give you a good example. Ed Solomon and my team has uncovered over 200 records. I don't want to get too much ahead of the cart here, but because it's not out yet. But we have proof of what they're doing with the votes. Let me give you an example. In Arapahoe County, Colorado, supposedly Republicans voted to raise our taxes, our property taxes. When you go through and you look on how people voted, they voted sanely on everything else. And then all of a sudden the Republicans said, oh, we think we want higher taxes. There were some other issues on that ballot. So it's not just officials that are being selected. There are ballot issues, legalization of this or that and the other, legalization of abortion. We've found every person that believes that abortion is not a human right, that it is a human violation, should be outraged that they're using these machines and these fraudulent elections to make abortion legal.
Absolutely. Let's talk about it when we come back on the other side with a true American hero. She is. And courage is contagious. Hopefully it spreads. Tina Peters is our guest. Stay with us. We have the 250. They announced the winner at 3 a.m. and Buchanan has less than 10%. And I'm like, it's fraud. I saw it. And then it came out later, Travis County got caught. I went and complained at a later election years later. The state still certified the election, even though they admitted the quote anomalies. So I'm already really frustrated about this. And then she's a smart, amazing lady, and she's innocent. So it adds insult to injury, making it even more personal to everybody. And so I feel like I know her. It's surreal here talking to her, and Trump championing getting her out. So many others did, and just to know what she's gone through. And then I just say, after her son dying in combat and the Gold Star mom, and then beating cancer and being in prison for years, she still looks amazing. I'm like, draft her for governor. These are the type of people that we need to get engaged. And if more people like her did do this, we would save the country much quicker, though we've turned the tide. So we've got about 20 minutes left. It's such an honor to have you. I want you to go wherever you want now with all of this, with what's next. Prison reform and election integrity, the midterms coming up, what prison life was like. Elaborate on that. How were you treated? And how did your faith in God, obviously get you through this? President Trump, Governor Polis, and the computation. So I'm going to just shut up and give you the floor. It's amazing to have you here. Everything you want to tell people that you wanted to say when you were in prison, or you go on Fox, but it just turns into a 5-minute soundbite. You can really talk to millions of people right now and really give them an idea of where we stand, because I see you as a major leader in this fight, and we salute you. I think you're muted, Tina. Maybe unmute yourself. It's okay. Go ahead. Yeah. Did we mute her? Or is she muted on our end?
There. Can you hear me?
There you go. Sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. Start over.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Thank you, Alex. You're bold, and that's what I appreciate about you. You don't mince words. You get it out there, and I think that's the problems of some of the media, and Fox. I mean, there's certain things they won't talk about, and so shows like yours that just provoke people to bring the truth out. I really appreciate it. So, with what I want people to understand, and this is people look at me now and they go, "Oh, well, if I was just Tina Peters, I could have done this or that." I was a nobody. I was just someone that stepped up to fix the 3.5-hour wait times at Motor V. I had skills, I had things that I felt that I could put to use to help the people in my county. And I think that's the most important thing. If you have a heart for people, when I was being prepared for trial, and I had a really tough attorney that was going to step in and be the DA, right? He was going to be the DA didn't try my case. A lot of people don't know that. It was the attorney general sent 2 of his best attorneys in to actually conduct the trial. and Phil Weiser, he's running for governor. We can't let that guy get in as governor either. He's another Soros and Obama person. But that aside, I just want to say that if you will stand up and do, the Bible says that because you've been faithful in small things, I will give you governance over much. And so and you want to hear at the end of your life, well done, good and faithful servant. I would have never expected when I put my hand up and said, I can do that. I can fix this. And then what happened after that, Alex, was almost once I raised my hand and I said, God, okay, I will do this. I will make the sacrifice to do this. Then things started being put in place, decisions that I had to make. And if you can be swayed by money, power, position, or fear, you can be compromised. People, if people will make that measure against themselves, if you can be swayed by money, power, position, or fear. And there's a lot of people that aren't swayed by money, power, and position necessarily, but they're afraid and they won't get out there and just start and do the things and then let God guide you through it. So prison was horrible, as you can imagine. I was targeted. At first I was in jail. There's a difference between jail and prison. And a lot of people say I was in jail. I was in jail. I was in two different jails. When I was in Mesa County Jail, I was still doing my shows. And I was speaking out about the injustices in the county jail. All of a sudden, after 2 months, at 4:00 in the morning, they came to my cell and said, pack up. Wouldn't tell me where I was going. I said, well, I'm not going anywhere until you tell me where I'm going. Fine, because I just wouldn't move. I said, I'm going to make a phone call. Phone's not on. Well, I'm not leaving. So finally they told me, you're going to Larimer County. And I thought, oh, well, that's great. Get out of here. Anything's better than this. So they sent me to another county on a courtesy hold. That's what it was. And then they extended my sentence another 60 days over. That was another illegal thing they did to me. 60 days past when I should have been there. So then from there, I kept doing my show and I was calling people out. And I was like a hot potato. There have been women in there that had tried to get to prison because prison, it has a few more advantages, but it's prison. It's better than jail because it's set up for the longevity, but it is not good either. But a lot of women had waited like 14 months just to get to prison, right? There's only 2 prisons in Colorado that are women's prisons. There are no minimum prisons in Colorado for women. So I was in with people who were, that became friends of mine that had done atrocious things, shot their boyfriend in the face and killed their children. You go on and on and on. Terrible, terrible things. Chopped up their a person and put them in bags and disposed of the bodies. And this was prison. This was real prison. So when it came time for me to be released, these other people have been waiting 14 months. I said, I guarantee you, they want to get rid of me. It's going to be the day that my time is up here. They're going to get me on there because the prison was full. No place to put people. So they're keeping them in jail. Sure enough, the first transport out, I was sent to prison. But when I got there, the woman that ran the prison, it wasn't the warden. The warden had given her all this power. She was evil. She had devil statues in her office. She got the word that, to just torment me terribly. And she did. Anything that I tried to do, she would thwart. I was thrown in the hole for 5 times. The last one was the 5th time, but that was when I was getting ready to get out. Anything she could do to make my life miserable. So I learned the laws of the prison. So I would have my attorneys bring in the ARs, the administrative regulations. And then I tell people, I say, they can't put you in the hole for months like they're doing. As a matter of fact, in Colorado, Amendment A was passed in 2018, and it said that they can't force people to work, prisoners to work. And they've been doing it for 8 years. These inmates just now won their lawsuit, and the prison just doesn't know what to do about them because they can't punish them anymore. So prisoners knowing their rights, but I went from personal suffering to more purpose. And I saw in prison what I saw made me more determined. The treatment that these people, the abuse of solitary confinement, the not having a voice, they're just hidden away. And then the officers know they can treat them however they want. So I started educating them, and I said, there's certain rules. I mean, I don't know if you saw it on the internet, because that wicked woman put it out right away, but a woman punched me, and you couldn't see that part on camera. And I was able to get my arm up in front of my face like this, and she hit my arm, had a huge bruise for weeks. But they charged me with assault. And so I went to work, and I beat both of the assault and unauthorized absence. I was in a place they said I shouldn't have been, which I would, and I beat them. I appealed them and that sort of thing. But they put me in the hole for that.
So this is the type of a communist-style persecution, trying to get you on something else, obviously knowing you're innocent, throwing you into prison, before that. So did they hold you the whole time for trial?
They held me for 2 weeks. So one of the officers went by, and I said her name. I said, so how long are they going to keep me up here? And where's the other girl that hit me? Well, she got out on parole 2 weeks later. So they said, well, it could be months. It could be a month or two. And I looked at her and said, they can't keep me longer than it was 14 days. And she goes, your rights. And I said, yeah, I do. See, they treat these women like they're ignorant, but they don't, there's no resources for them. So those kind of things, the medical care was atrocious until we started. So I started having the women write down their testimony, their what it was in the prison that was not. Oh yeah, that's it. Okay, so when I'm pulling this in February, you might wonder why in February there is a swamp cooler. It's because my cell was 91 and 95.6 degrees. So I'm pulling that in there. This girl gets mad at me, comes in, you'll see her lean in, throws the punch, and I grab her arm that she punched me with, and I push her back until she releases, and then I push away and go on. But they just showed that part. They didn't show the part that people could see from the other direction of her punching me, and then I walked off. So they wanted to show that I was a lawbreaker. That's what they wanted.
I don't think I never heard that stuff on the news, just that one part there. So I'm glad I played this one. The real truth coming out.
Showed before the trial as well that I was a lawbreaker.
15.
But for me, the fight still goes on as far as transparency. Whether it's in prison, there's another thing in prison that is, to me, it is such a abuse of the rights of the inmates there. They provide them this drug called Suboxone, and there was a officer that left the prison. A lot of the officers left under that captain's administration. And she says, Tina, when you get out, she says, tell President Trump about Suboxone. Suboxone is a drug that they use. They tout it as getting people off of drugs. Well, the perfect time to get people off of drugs is when they go to prison, because they're stuck there for a while. But what they do is they give them this drug. They get dependent on this drug. They can't stop it. And they won't titer them down, little by little. They'll increase it 90 days before they get out. So then they keep that cycle of being addicted. And I believe it might be a federal, I need to check more into it. It may be a federal program.
It is. It's just like the methadone scam. So it basically keeps you addicted while you're in prison.
It's terrible. It's terrible. I mean, even in jail, they would bring people in and then let them dry out, check on them, keep them in an area where they can make sure they're not ODing. Then they would let them dry out. Then they'd put them in general population. And then they would put them back on the drugs, So this is a terrible thing. And I know it has to do with money. Prisons are, they're in business.
It's all about who gets the contracts.
Yes, they're using these people as human sacrifices, and it has to stop.
Well, I'm impressed that you're not just focused on your plight or even on the election fraud, but what you witnessed in the prisons as well. But let's get back to the midterms coming up, because you're dialed into the community that's got their ear to the ground. Trump's tried to get reforms. He's tried to get the DOJ to take action. There's been some action. Now we have this non-native born judge trying to block Trump on voter ID. It doesn't look good. Doesn't look like they got anything in place to really deflect any of the fraud. We've seen the same old games coming out in these other elections around the country. What's your view on the upcoming elections?
I think if we don't do something to get these foreign-made machines with, a vendor, Alex, should not have that much control and that much secrecy over machines that count our votes. It's
for people that don't know, they say it's proprietary code. They come in these key elections, always where it's close, and they come in, the technicians, and do weird stuff and won't say what they did. For people that don't know, describe what happens.
Well, when in Mesa County, what we found, and they're in the reports, when the ballots would go in, it gets a little complicated probably for the last few minutes we have on the show, but it goes in and it creates another database and it changes the vote on the image. So when they say, well, we'll show you the images, they don't show you the ballots, they show you the images, and those are electronically changed using an adjudication tool that decides what the machine decides what that voter meant. It's a tool that they use, but they abuse it. There's other ways that it's being done as well. Mark Cook is there's some interviews that I've done with Mark Cook on my show and that Apollo have done on my show, on my website, that would educate people on the mechanics of how that's done. And of course, then we have the mail-in ballots that once the machines, monkey up the vote, insert votes, then they have to go get the ballots. And then that's why you see at the end of election, wait a minute, we don't have, we can call it, but all the ballots aren't in yet, because they have to do that to cover the call that they made.
Well, you have the receipts on your website, tinapeters.us, and your show is excellent. I tune in on a routine basis and clips of it online. But
thank you.
Peter Tickett was on a few months ago, and I saw this even in some of the local news. You had a candidate down in San Antonio where he right away asked for the votes. They mess up and give him the actual votes, and then he sees the same people voting over and over again. Then he goes back to him. They go, oh, no, that was a mistake. Here's the new version. It's the same thing. It gave him an image. So they run this game the same everywhere.
That's right. That's right. I believe that President Trump should do an executive order to ban electronic voting machines across the nation because they are made in foreign countries. They do have vulnerabilities. We showed that ours had 36 wireless devices, Alex, in the voting system. 36 wireless devices. It was able to communicate. Anybody could have communicated through a cell phone.
And then they'll go on the news and say, Tina Peters is crazy. Mike Lindell is nuts. I'm sure you saw last year they defaulted him, the federal judge, meaning he's guilty already for a civil lawsuit with Smartmatic, even though Smartmatic's getting indicted and settling and admitting all this stuff. And the judge just said, you never showed proof that these machines could be remotely accessed, but never let Lindell show proof, even though the damn things plug into a wall and have wireless phones in them on record that the companies admit they access in their own statements, but they say it's proprietary. And the judge said, nope, these computers are siloed, which they're the opposite of. I mean, it's like saying dolphins don't live in the ocean. Trees don't have, green leaves. I mean, Dobermans aren't black. You're not wearing a pink jacket. I mean, it's just they lie to your face with the most obvious stuff.
They know what they're doing, and they do it anyway. It's kind of like, okay, come after me. We've already, and I'm speaking for them. We've already captured all the judges, all the DAs through the Soros, all the Secretary of States. They've already. This was a Soros plan from many years ago. I believe started in 2013, probably before that. I know the voting machine fraud was in Venezuela, and Hugo Chavez bragged that he was going to put a black president in. So this goes back, and even the Democrats will tell you they know that the machines cheat. You know, they're on the movie selection code that's on my website. There is you hear Kamala Harris and all these people saying that the voting machines can be hacked out of their own mouth. So they're just using it to their advantage, and no one is stopping them. So I believe
exactly. There
Trump,
are hour-long compilations. I know when they were trying to impeach Trump over election stuff, that Trump was getting ready with these compilations, just like compilations of Democrats calling for attacking the Capitol. And then when they showed that in the impeachment, they shut up real quick. We're on the J6 commission. But you can show hour-long compilations of them back to the year 2000, saying these machines are a fraud, they're accessing them, and showing hackers coming in and breaking in just 30 seconds. And then meanwhile, with Mike Lindell, they go, you're defaulted. When you have a jury trial, it's how guilty you are. Same thing was done with me with Sandy Hook. Never even really talked about it. Never did these things. Nobody. They said, you're defaulted. Then had a show trial where I couldn't counter their evidence. And now Mike Lindell, they're going forward to further destroy him, and I guess he's going to trial soon, and saying he's trying to win governor. He's ahead, saying he's a liar. No one can access these machines. It's like saying the gasoline was not in a 57 Chevy. I mean, a layperson knows that's not true. The whole point is these are computers.
That's right. And we don't have control over them. The people that are elected to protect the vote cannot do so because they can't see what the machine is doing. No one can.
Incredible.
And I think that has to stop.
Incredible.
It has to stop.
Well, we've got to get you back on the broadcast. Have you been contacted by Congress? Are they going to have hearings?
Not yet. I haven't. I am going to Washington this week, so we'll see what comes of that. And my case is right now in the Colorado Supreme Court. So let's just hope they don't provoke another 9-0 SCOTUS ruling, and they have the sanity to overturn my case. They have to be able to let you present a defense. They cannot keep you from 41 motions that prove your innocence.
That's what I should have added. They didn't let you put a defense on either. This is the thing they do now.
No, they don't. They convinced.
Remember,
the
Trump
jury
couldn't put on a defense with a panel of judges that took him off the ballot in Colorado. I mean, these people are just out of control.
Yes. So, just we've got more information coming out all over the country. And you can access it on the website, at tinapeters.us. I won't give up. I won't give in, and I won't back down.
You're incredible. Well, listen, I know you're busy, but when you get more information, more unfolds.
Okay, I'm glad I got that. That was a really good one, I thought. I feel okay. We got to get, I think I got two videos, tape or lurking. Then Billy's out for 8 minutes. So that's 3 short ones. Then the 2 Bennies and the 2 Chris videos are short also. So I'm going to try to get all those in here. So we will get Billy's in here.
Is about 5 p.m. And thanks to like, subscribe, and share. We had another earthquake late this afternoon near the Philippines, a 6.5, about 25 miles deep. And we're hearing that yesterday, Iran, according to U.S. intel, hit a commercial ship in the Strait of Hormuz, flagged by Singapore, named the Ever Lovely. So that happened yesterday. Iran said it fired on the ship. So Iran fired 4 drones. The U.S. was able to take down 3 of them. One hit the ever lovely, causing some minor damage. Iran said it fired on the ship that was in the Sea of Oman, near Oman, because it took the wrong route. Apparently, Iran believes it now controls the Strait of Hormuz. We have this from Breitbart that, yes, so recently Ford laid off engineers to replace them with untrained AI. And when they were losing tens of thousands of dollars due to mess ups, they hired the engineers back. So that's going on. And we have this from the UN. Remember the COVID, and one of the treatments was remdesivir? Yeah, well, they would hook you up, intubate you, and give you remdesivir. Many said, that's like a death sentence. Well, apparently the big pharma had plenty of the remdesivir still left on their shelves. So the UN is sending it now to the Congo to treat Ebola. And we have this. We have from U.S. Intel. Yeah, so we know yesterday Iran hit on a commercial ship, and then later, after that, a few hours later, we had U.S. Intel reports that U.S. warships were moving in that direction toward the Strait of Hormuz. And it was wondered if the U.S. would make a reciprocal strike on Iran for Iran hitting the commercial ship. As the U.S. warships approached Iran late yesterday, Iran put out a statement that if the U.S. puts ground troops on the ground, Iran would respond with a 1 million troop military. So that's what Iran said. We had this from MonkeyWorks. Yesterday, we were hearing a prediction by the USGS with regard to the death toll in Venezuela from the two earthquakes, 7.2 and 7.5. USGS predicts 10,000 to 100,000. And we have this from Stephen Gardner. Jim Jordan of the U.S. Congress, who heads up an investigative committee. Congress is now investigating Act Blue that raises money from the Dem Party, and are finding evidence that as much as 38 million, and they believe much more, came to the Dem Party illegally from foreign donors. We have this from Fox. A Supreme Court ruling is that the U.S. can strip certain classifications from foreign nationals and can now also take away refugee status to individuals in the U.S. from Haiti and Syria. So President Trump is winning. We look forward to the Supreme Court bringing out their ruling either Monday or Tuesday regarding birthright citizenship. And we have this. President Trump, in a presser this morning, was asked about Iran firing on a commercial ship. And essentially, President Trump's message was, F around and find out. And now we have this from Fox. Currently, this afternoon in Venezuela, the death toll is being reported as 900, with 10,000 missing. So that's going on. And we have to do a shout out to the U.S. Soccer team. We know in the rest of the world it's called football. So the U.S. World Cup team has won 3 games, the best showing of the U.S. in the World Cup since the 1930s. And we have this. So then, a few minutes ago, CENTCOM announced that the U.S. military did a retaliatory strike on Iran, hitting the location where the drones came from yesterday, fired at the Ever Lovely. The U.S. military hit the drone site. They hit a missile launch site. They took down Iranian radars. So that happened just a few minutes ago. And it appears that President Trump's stance, F around and find out, has been answered. And we have this. Yeah, so we're not seeing any sunspots today. The sun is quiet. So this concludes my flash update. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
All right, we got one of hers in today. Now I'll try to get one of each. Try to get one of each of Trish and Benny. Okay. Oh, and Q. Here's Q video.
Installs in seconds.
What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q, and oh, what a great day it is. John Bolton declared guilty on all charges. Oh my goodness, what a day. Now, the interesting thing to me is he actually pled guilty after saying that he was not guilty of anything, that he hadn't done anything wrong. He did everything he could to go on all of the on the nation's shows and the cable networks and say that this is just Donald Trump playing games and trying to use his influence and all of these things. But once he saw the mountain of evidence against him, all of the information that the FBI had taken from his home, from his DC office, there were hundreds and hundreds of documents, of files relating to national security, relating to internal communications between him and people on the staff of Trump. In addition to that, conversations about weapons of mass destruction and where those were. I mean, this was really, really dangerous. And then to make matters worse, his AOL, who uses AOL anymore? And if some of you guys do, reach out to me, I'll help you. But using AOL, he was hacked by Iran officials. So imagine for a second if Donald Trump had done any of these things, how loud the media would be yelling. But now the media is taking up for John Bolton. But when this was done, when Trump supposedly did this and his house was raided, even though Donald Trump had the power to declassify any documents as the president that he wanted to. But John Bolton was never a president. John Bolton did not have this authority, yet he still had these documents. And so I'm so excited to see that he is now facing up to 10 years in prison. I hope they give him all of those 10 years and then forget that he's there, is what I hope that they do. This is a man who did everything he could to try to divide America, did everything he could to try to send our men and women off to fight. They did everything he could to try to destroy President Trump once he was escorted out of his national security advisor role. And so I say traitors should deal with and get treated as traitors. And if you're a true patriot, you understand that traitors never win. So I'm excited to see this, guys. This was a huge victory for us. I know you guys are saying, hey, when are the Democrats going to get locked up? It's coming. It's coming. But it was important to have a Republican lead the way, because when it's all said and done, they will never, ever, ever be able to say that there was a two-tier justice system under this president. It doesn't matter if you're a Republican. It doesn't matter if you are a liberal. If you break the law, if you violate America's rule of law, you are going to prison. And I cannot wait to see more of this. Comment below. Do you think that John Bolton should be going to prison? Do you think that John Bolton, because he's a Republican, should get some kind of special treatment? What do you?
Okay, new video. 2 more, you guys.
Exclusive savings on peaceful drone show. The coolest things ever. Just out. This is a drone show from Palm Beach where you have a dancing Trump up in the sky. It's kind of awesome. Yeah, neat. And giant American flag. Mount Rushmore. Very cool. Approval. And what else they got? World's deal maker. You got the hands shaking and the giant eagle. Very freaking sweet. Humongous eagle in the sky. Can I have that for my house every single night? Or maybe one of these for my house. These is like a Jesus Christ on the cross. It's insane. So incredibly cool. Christian iconography. It's just absolutely stunning. And then you see what they do in China, and you're like, oh, okay. Looks totally like a space alien invasion. So they're dropping fireworks from their drones. They're like integrating the fireworks into the drones. Well, if you can integrate fireworks into the drones like this, I mean, and this is really sophisticated stuff. Look at that. Then bombs on drones, and that's exactly what they've done in Ukraine. Said it's captured a Russian position using only drones, no infantry. Ukraine took back something like 50 square miles of territory. I think it's expanded to like 100 square miles using just drones. No men. Oh, okay. Well, that's new. That's new warfare. The future's here on the battlefield. Ukraine just took back entire cities using completely unmanned crafts, some flying, some ground, and they were then able to conquer back a city in Ukraine. Yo. All right.
Next,
entirely unmanned platform ground systems.
Probably tomorrow.
They were able to seize back, and the occupiers surrendered. The operation was carried out without any infantry and without any losses. So it's a new era in warfare, for sure. Are jellyfish drones part of it? I don't know, man. And this story is insane. Downed U.S. pilot reports seeing Iranian jellyfish taking down his plane. What's that about? Okay, U.S. fighter pilot rescued by special forces after being downed in Iran in April, you remember, described a shocking sight before ejecting from his aircraft. Multiple Iranian drones hovering in the air, moving as one in a formation that resembled a giant jellyfish, according to 4 sources familiar with the matter. The account has not been previously reported or shared by the F-15 pilot. Intelligence officers during the debriefing incident, and it immediately set off a firestorm debate within U.S. intelligence that is yet to be resolved. If the airman really saw what he described, a formation moving in unison, it would be an alarming advance in Iranian drone capabilities. Multiple drones interconnected and moving as one, with the smaller drones below and the bigger drones like legs. One of the sources familiar with the pirates witnessed real alien shit.
Have a good night.
Another source told
Love you.
CNN
About
the
4
pilot
or
described
5
witnessing a minefield of drones in the air. While the exact cause of the F-15 downing is still being investigated, initial reports indicate that it's possible the drone formation had in some way enabled Iran to shoot down an American jet, according to two of the sources. The F-15 carried a crew of 2 pilots and the weapons systems officer, and you remember, of course, the dramatic rescue of this officer, and I look forward to the Michael Bay film or whatever, starring Tom Cruise as the jet pilot. So the downing of the F-15 marked the first time that U.S. aircraft was shot down during the Iranian conflict. The pilot was rescued in, remember the CIA ghost murmur? They were able to track his heart. But anyway, what the hell is this? So the pilot describes a giant jellyfish in the sky. This is the drone formation. Multiple drones interconnected by a moving as one, with smaller drones below the bigger ones, like legs. Like this. Pilot witnessed an account. Real alien stuff. Huh? We know that the Chinese, who are very good at drones, and helping out the Iranians, this is probably why President Trump went to China right in the middle of all this, why it was so important that China said they're going to help out with the war effort. So the Chinese are great at drones. The Chinese have been open source helping out the Iranians as to how they could shoot down American aircraft. And so you've been able to open all of that. It's not been great. We also know that there have been very creepy videos of jellyfish drones in the field of war. So this is in a October 2018 in a joint operations base in Iraq. You can see here the what can be described as a jellyfish drone. And it looks like a drone. That is a jellyfish. Nobody knows what it is. But we tracked it over the rooftops of Iraq. And what the hell is it exactly? No one's sure.
Video that is sending shockwaves throughout the UFO community. I don't know if you've seen this yet on your feeds or online. This footage was reportedly taken at a U.S. joint operations base in Iraq, showing what appears to be this jellyfish flying through the air. You see it highlighted here with these dangly legs. To be clear, News Nation has not independently verified this footage, but Xavier Walton joins us live. Xavier, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, what the hell is it? Nobody knows. I mean, they're just going to be like, I don't know. Jellyfish formation drones. Are they connected? I have no idea. Was that an Iranian drone flying over Iraq? Is that what the pilot's talking about? U.S. fighter jet rescued by special forces describes an alarming sight. Multiple Iranian drones hovering in the air, moving as one in a formation that resembled a jellyfish to take down his plane. Investigators are examining whether the sighting was accurate. If so, the drones used a mesh network technology, allowing multiple drones to operate as a single synchronized unit. Extremely advanced to do that. Again, this could be a jellyfish, right? It's a dragon. Doesn't this kind of look like a jellyfish? This is from China. Doesn't that kind of look like a jellyfish? They're using fireworks. But yeah, it totally does. Iranian drones hovering in the air, moving as a jellyfish. I'm not sure this meaning anything as it relates to the phenomenon previously recorded of the jellyfish UAP, but it's interesting. I don't know. Weird, man. Wouldn't these sophisticated platforms have cameras on them? Right? Wouldn't the Navy or the Air Force or whoever was operating these F-15 platforms, clearly they have cameras that are monitoring what's going on around the plane? No? I have a Tesla, right? Like, it has cameras. The F-15 doesn't? If it does, then, show us the video. Please. Please. Glad the pilots are safe. God bless our troops. It's getting crazy out there.
All right, you guys. Wow. A lot of good stuff. Couldn't get Trisha today. But everybody have a great weekend. And tomorrow between 4 and 5, unless something breaks. God bless everybody. Love all. Number 36 like. Oh, thanks, Bob. Like, okay, Carol, Tim. And signing off for Friday. What? The Sixers are wild tonight, you guys, right? 6:26, and we're off the air at 6. Oh man, we missed about 1 minute. 6:07. That would have been funny if we stopped at 6:06. So that was kind of weird. All right, stay safe, stay strong, get your faith, and never give up. And signing off, Chico News. Friday night. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow around 4 or 5. Unless I find something. All righty.